Chapter 686. Seeing Fan Xiefeng toss the storage pouch containing the golden hoops to Chu Yang, Shi Jingyun and Shi Shaoqian frowned slightly. Seeing this, Fan Xiefeng squinted his eyes and smiled. This was his main goal. He was betting on Chu Yang getting carried away. Without Kong Hai restraining him, Chu Yang could leave whenever he wanted and was in a very safe position. Without a threat, a person's vigilance would often drop. When faced with a great temptation, they would become greedier and unable to think calmly. Previously, with Kong Hai's threat, Chu Yang dared to decisively give up the 7 golden hoops. But now, faced with the temptation of the 7 golden hoops, Chu Yang, who felt safe, might not have the courage to do so. Or rather, this was Chu Yang's own confidence. He believed that without Kong Hai's interference, no matter how many golden hoops he had, he could keep them. And Fan Xiefeng wanted to make use of this confidence of Chu Yang's. While diverting the conflict, he wanted Chu Yang to suffer greatly. He, Fan Xiefeng, was not an incompetent person who would let others bully him without doing anything. Fan Xiefeng looked at Chu Yang and said calmly, "Now, you can't leave." With that, he formed a seal with his right hand and shouted in a low voice, "True form of the 7 peaks array, open." With the activation of his magic power, Chu Yang instantly felt the storage pouch in his hand change. The entire storage pouch exploded and the 7 golden hoops flew into the air. Each golden hoops was covered in runes and seals. On the small golden hoops, there was a spirit array engraved. The 7 golden hoops and several small spirit arrays combined to form a giant spirit array above Chu Yang's head. Within the spirit array, the faint silhouette of 7 mountain peaks flashed. With a tremendous weight, it pressed down on Chu Yang's head. Under the effect of the true form of the 7 peaks array, Chu Yang's figure was immediately fixed in place, preventing him from using his escape technique to escape. Shi Shaoqian and Shi Jingyun were slightly startled before they reacted. Fan Xiefeng had actually set up a spirit array on his 7 golden hoops. He had secretly left a trap, instantly trapping Chu Yang. Originally, Chu Yang could leave as he pleased. Now his unfettered state of safety disappeared, and the situation reversed in an instant. The current Chu Yang had a large golden number 9 above his head. He was surrounded by Fan Xiefeng, Shi Shaoqian, and Shi Jingyun. He was like a fat sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Currently, Fan Xiefeng did not have a single golden hoop on him. Although Shi Shaoqian and Shi Jingyun were displeased with his ambush, it was obvious that they would lose more than they gained by making things difficult for Fan Xiefeng. Naturally, they turned their attention to Chu Yang. The ups and downs of the battle were like a roller coaster ride, which surprised everyone in the Spreading Law Hall. Inside the All-Heaven Grand Hall, the group of Essence Soul experts shook their heads and sighed. Fan Xiefeng was not anxious or rash after suffering a setback. He calmly made plans and turned the situation around once again, turning it into a situation where he killed Chu Yang. They were very satisfied with the young man's performance. Sun Luminary Sword Venerable looked at Lin Daohan and Yin Mingwei. He smiled and said, "The successor of Taishu, you live up to your reputation." Lin Daohan nodded his head in thanks. Yin Mingwei smiled and shook her head. "It's not the end yet. It's still too early to say." As if to prove her words, Chu Yang, who had fallen from the clouds to the bottom of the valley, did not panic even though his expression was solemn. Although he was a little surprised, Chu Yang had already thought of the situation he would face when he dared to accept Fan Xiefeng's 7 golden hoop in such an ostentatious manner. Fan Xiefeng let out a long sigh of relief. He had finally turned the disadvantageous situation around. Now, he had to think about his next step. Perhaps, with a good plan, he could take all 9 golden hoop from Chu Yang. As he thought about this, Fan Xiefeng did not stop attacking. He decisively attacked Chu Yang with Shi Shaoqian and Shi Jingyun. Chu Yang looked at Fan Xiefeng and thought, "Luckily, you are an array formation cultivator. This way, it's not against the rules for me to use an artifact. However, if you weren't an array formation cultivator, you wouldn't have been able to trap me. Luckily, I was prepared and could use this artifact as a disguise. Otherwise, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to hide it. As he thought about it, Chuyang waved his hand and shot out 2 talismans. The 2 talismans shone in the air at the same time. One of them was dimmer, but it did not give off the feeling of being weak. It was like a dark shadow, appearing and disappearing, making it hard to grasp. The other talisman was extremely sharp. At the same time, it was dazzling like the sun rising from the east. Although the light was different, there was no doubt that the 2 beams of light were sword beams. Chuyang pointed the long sword in his hand, and his body became one with the sword. His entire body first fused with the first sword beam, becoming like a dark shadow as he hid in the void. Fan Xiefeng's true form of the 7 Peaks array was unable to suppress him. In Fan Xiefeng's spiritual sense, which was connected to the array formation, Chuyang seemed to have suddenly disappeared without a trace. The dark shadow-like sword beam flashed, directly breaking the array formation runes engraved on the golden hoop and collecting the 7 golden hoop. At this moment, the attacks of Fan Xiefeng and the other 2 arrived. The overwhelming attacks came crashing down. Even if Chuyang turned into a dark shadow, as long as he existed, there was still no way for him to escape. However, Chuyang did not want to be entangled with them. The dark shadow sword beam broke through the array formation that trapped him and collected the golden hoop. In the next moment, he separated from the dark shadow sword beam and fused with the sharp and dazzling second sword beam. With an explosion of shocking power, he soared into the sky, like a rainbow piercing through the sun. Chuyang chose Shi Shaoqian, who was already injured and had unstable mana, as a breakthrough point. He directly killed his way out of the encirclement. Once he was free, Chuyang immediately used the sword escape and went far away, leaving Fan Xiefeng, Shi Jingyun, and Shi Shaoqian behind him. The crowd of cultivators in the spreading law hall was instantly in an uproar. No one expected that after Fan Xiefeng found the opportunity to turn the tables and turn the situation around, the final result was still failure, and Chuyang killed his way out of the encirclement. Under the encirclement of the Taishu Temple's direct disciple, Fan Xiefeng, and the Great Qin Dynasty's direct disciple, Shi Jingyun, and Shi Shaoqian, Chuyang was still able to escape safely and take away the 9 golden hoop. Chuyang's performance amazed everyone. Previously, it was just his scheming. But the last wave of breaking out of the encirclement showed that this unknown young cultivator from beyond Heaven Mountain, even his strength was not to be underestimated. He was equally outstanding. Up until now, apart from Zhou Yunsong, Chuyang could be considered as the biggest dark horse in this year's Dharma Assembly. Moreover, in the crowd's eyes, he was even more outstanding than Zhou Yunsong. Regardless of whether Zhou Yunsong had few disciples in the Nirvana Paradise, Zhou Yunsong was still the direct disciple of Xianmen Tianzong. Many people had expected him to have such amazing strength. It was just that before he entered the Starry Sky Pagoda, Zhou Yunsong suddenly went berserk. This gave many people the wrong impression and caused them to subconsciously lower their expectations of him. That was why Zhou Yunsong's counterattack was so unexpected. As for Chuyang, from the very beginning, his face was plastered with labels like exchange first, competition second, professional to make up the numbers, and special to travel. The group of primordial spirit experts in the All-Heaven Palace were also quite surprised. At this moment, everyone's gaze fell on Chuyang. However, they were no longer paying attention to Chuyang. Celestial Sword Venerable turned his head to look at Lin Feng and Taishu Temple's Lin Daohan hesitantly. If I'm not mistaken, the 2 tokens that Chuyang shot out just now seem to be the Sky Sword token of the Heavenly Gate. Thunderous Sword Venerable, Flowing Light Sword Venerable, Emerald Wave Sword Venerable, Brilliant Sun Sword Venerable, Desolation Sword Venerable, and Constellation Sword Venerable all had grave expressions on their faces. The era of the Heavenly Gate's destruction was too long ago. It was so long ago that these primordial spirit experts had yet to be born. They had only seen some records about the Heavenly Gate in the sect's ancient books. Slowly, Lin Daohan said, It's indeed the sky's sword token of the heavenly gate. These two sword tokens should have stored the sword lights of the northwest serene heavenly sword and the southeast yang heavenly sword respectively. Celestial sword venerable of the thunderclap slapped the armrest of his chair. No wonder. No wonder his sword principles were obviously different and much more brilliant even though they were from the beyond Heaven Mountain's inheritance. It turns out that he has the sky's sword token. He paused for a moment, then took a deep breath and said, "Did he obtain the inheritance of the heavenly gate's great nine heavens divine sword? Or did he unearth a heavenly gate relic by chance and obtain a few sky sword tokens?" If it was the former, it was no small matter. If it was the latter, it was not important. The sky sword token was a special product of the heavenly gate in the past. It was specially given to the disciples with lower cultivation to protect themselves. Its mana restriction was unique. Even the descendants of the heavenly gate could not figure out the great nine heavens divine sword through the sword token. Any attempt to probe would only cause the sword token to self-destruct. It had been tried and tested many times. Both the Taishu Temple and the Mount Shu Sword Sect had some sky sword tokens. However, with the abilities of these two sects, they could not decipher the mystery of the great nine heavens divine sword. Looking at Lin Feng on the main seat, Celestial Sword Venerable of the Heavenly Gate slowly said, "This matter is not urgent. When the spell meeting is over, the leader of the Xianmen sect will take the lead and ask this child." Celestial Sword Venerable of the Heavenly Gate had gradually broken away from the Mount Shu Sword sect and attached itself to Xianmen Tianzong. This was Xianmen Tianzong's territory. Naturally, they could not bypass Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled. "Indeed, it is not urgent." Everyone turned to look at the illusion of light and shadow. After Chu Yang obtained the 9 golden rings, he quickly rushed to the hill where he had buried the first golden ring. Including that golden ring, he suddenly had 10 golden rings. As long as he was not schemed against in the future, he would be able to advance to the 3rd stage. This was because there were only 4 people who had successfully completed the 2nd stage. First place, Xianmen Tianzong's Qian Tian Palace disciple, Su Yunsheng. Second place, Xianmen Tianzong's Fan Lin House disciple, Dao Yuding. Third place, Taishu Temple's disciple, Chun Xingyu. His appearance finally prevented Xianmen Tianzong from monopolizing the top 3 places. This also made the others look forward to the 3rd stage. However, at the 4th place, it was Xianmen Tianzong's disciple, Lin Tong, who was under Fentinya. The few big shots in the All-Heaven Hall looked at each other and estimated the time in their hearts. The next one will probably be Heavenly Sword Sect's Kong Hai, right? The 15 minutes are almost up. Everyone looked at Kong Hai in the illusion of light and shadow. As they were thinking about this, something strange happened. A figure appeared in front of Kong Hai. Chapter 687. The second phase of the fierce competition was gradually coming to an end. Most of the golden rings on Qiongqi's body in the small world had been transferred to the hands of the cultivators who were participating in the spell assembly, except for Qiongqi's own golden ring, which was destroyed by Qiongqi. Therefore, the cultivators also targeted the others and began to snatch the golden rings from them. Su Yunsheng of the Celestial Sect of Xianmen was one of the first to enter the small world. Apart from obtaining some golden rings from hunting Qiongqi, he had also obtained a few golden rings from fighting other cultivators. Thus, he was the first to collect 10 golden rings and successfully advance to the 3rd stage as the first person in the group. Dao Yuding was slightly slower than him. The time spent in the 2nd stage was basically the same, but Dao Yuding's group was slightly later than Su Yunsheng's group in the 1st stage of climbing the Starry Sky Pagoda. In the end, the difference in time was basically the same. Chun Xingyu, who was in the 3rd place, attracted more attention. Not only did his presence prevent Xianmen Tianzong from monopolizing the first 2 places, but the 10 golden rings he collected in the 2nd stage were all obtained from hunting Qiongqi. Chun Xingyu's 10 golden rings were all obtained from Qiongqi. From the beginning to the end, he did not fight with other cultivators. He did not snatch anyone's golden rings. nor was he robbed by anyone. He did not even come into contact with other cultivators. The cultivators in the Spreading Law Hall were just amazed, but the group of primordial spirit experts in the All-Heaven Grand Hall all revealed knowing smiles. It was not a coincidence that Chun Xingyu did not meet other cultivators. Instead, he was always one step ahead of others before they noticed his presence. There were also other cultivators who could do this. Some of them would specifically look for other cultivators to see if they had any golden rings on them. However, every time Qin Xingyu found other cultivators, he would avoid them. Due to the unexpected situation in the Starry Sky Pagoda, Chun Xingyu's group actually entered the second stage later than Su Yunsheng and Dao Yuding. However, after collecting 10 golden rings and passing the second stage, he did not fall too far behind and successfully took third place. At that time, the Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple Kong Hai, who had arrived at the top of the Starry Sky Pagoda with him and entered the small world, only had 3 golden rings. He was busy ambushing Shi Shaoqian and Shi Jingyun with Fan Xiefeng. After Chun Xingyu, everyone was hoping that there would be another cultivator from another power who could seize the 4th place. But in the end, the 4th place was still taken by little Lin Tong, who came from a celestial sect of the 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 celestial sect. Xiao Yin was overjoyed. Snatching my goddaughter's things? Please, including everyone who participated in the Starry Sky Pagoda. There are less than 5 people who can rob Tong in a duel. Luo Qingwu smiled and shook her head. Little Tong Er's appearance is too deceiving. Her strength is currently number 1 among Fen Tianya's direct disciples. Xiaoyan pointed at her and smiled. Just like you. Luo Qingwu giggled and waved her hand. Xiao Wu can't do it. I should say, she's just like little senior brother back then. Thinking about how Shi Tianhao beat up Yuanying Patriarch when he was only 10 years old, Xiao Yin, Zhu Yi, and the others laughed even more. Next, I'm afraid the 5th place will be that Heavenly Sword Sect's Kong Hai. It's a pity for Yun Song. After laughing, Yu Hanyan looked at the light illusion and sighed. At this moment, in the pocket dimension, there was a conspicuous golden number 10 on top of Zhou Yunsong's head. He had also gathered 10 golden hoops and was now quietly waiting for 15 minutes to pass before he would be transported out of the pocket dimension. However, the time that Zhou Yunsong took to gather 10 golden hoops was slightly later than Kong Hai. In this way, the time that he would be transported out of the pocket dimension would also be slightly later. Yang Qing smiled. The world is unpredictable. Anything can happen. This is the original intention of the rules of the Starry Sky Pagoda. To be fair, Kong Hai's strength actually couldn't reach his current results. However, with many coincidences, he had the hope of becoming the 5th place, which was better than many people. Chu Yang directly gave Kong Hai 7 golden hoops, indirectly kicking Kong Hai out of the game. Not only did he not affect the situation on his side, it was also equivalent to guaranteeing Kong Hai's advancement to the 3rd stage. Everyone in the Spreading Law Hall looked at the lucky Kong Hai and could not help but shake their heads and sigh. This luck was too good. Just as they were thinking about this, something strange happened. A figure suddenly appeared in front of Kong Hai. It was a tall youth who looked to be in his 20s. He had a handsome face and a determined expression. The number 1 of the Lei family's younger generation, also known as the young master of the Lei family, Lei Jie. The golden light above Lei Jie's head flashed. It was a golden number 5, indicating that he already had 5 golden hoops. In the first stage, Lei Jie did not walk with his group, but climbed the Starry Sky Pagoda alone. Even so, his speed was extremely fast, even faster than the combined speed of the others in his group. Lei Jie had actually reached the top of the pagoda very early. However, due to the rules, he had to wait at the top of the pagoda until his group arrived. Only then did they advance to the second stage and enter the pocket dimension. According to the 8 groups that advanced in the first stage, Lei Jie's group belonged to the bottom. However, at this time, Lei Jie had already collected 5 golden hoops, displaying the same strong strength as when he ascended the pagoda. When Kong Hai saw Lei Jie, his brows furrowed slightly. He was not afraid of him, but he had already collected 10 golden hoops. All he needed to do was to advance. There was no need to waste his spiritual power and mental energy to fight with Lei Jie. Thinking of this, Kong Hai once again used the heavenly sword escape, wanting to escape far away and avoid Lei Jie, who knew that just as he moved, a shadow flashed in front of him. The speed was so fast that it made Kong Hai's skin crawl. Lei Jie's entire body flickered with azure lightning. Kong Hai wanted to escape, but every time, Lei Jie would block him. Kong Hai was fast, but Lei Jie was even faster. He was like a ghostly lightning. Kong Hai looked at the surging green lightning on Lei Jie's body in shock. That green lightning of his is a little strange. His speed is even faster than my heavenly sword escape technique. It's practically comparable to my Sek's Great Dao Heavenly Sword. Shushan's Shaozi Sword Artifact, Celerita's Sword Sek's Instant Sword Escape, is only SOSO. 5 golden hoops, or all 10 of them, Lei Jie said calmly, his voice like thunder. Kong Hai was unwilling. The time limit is almost up. Haven't I just give it to you for free? He made a hand seal, and a sharp sword chi that pierced through the heavens shot straight into the 9 heavens, as if it was a path to heaven. His body and sword became one, intending to attack Lei Jie. This time, however, he wasn't trying to escape. Instead, he was trying to fight Lei Jie head-on to determine the victor. Lei Jie's expression didn't change as he formed a hand seal. Balls of azure lightning flew out from his body and condensed into a phantom image in midair. Under the pitch-black sky, dark clouds rolled and lightning flashed, as if the end of the world had arrived. An aura of great disaster, great destruction, and great suffering emanated from it. Thick lightning snakes twisted continuously, and the phantom image seemed to present a horrifying hell full of lightning. This was the Lei clan's secret, top-notch mystique, lightning purgatory. It threw opponents who dared to oppose it into a hell of lightning to suffer endless torture, never to be reincarnated. If it was just the lightning purgatory, although it was powerful, it was nothing to Kong Hai. His heavenly sword Sek's sword arts were above the Lei clan's. However, it was different from ordinary lightning purgatory. Within the phantom image of the purgatory above Lei Jie's head, thousands of lightning bolts actually gradually condensed in the air, transforming into a roaring giant god of lightning. In the illusory sky, 9 mysterious auras faintly converged on the giant god of lightning, causing its power to grow stronger and stronger. Later on, the giant god of lightning actually showed signs of turning illusory into reality, as if it was about to become a real existence and descend into this world. Dazzling azure lightning lit up all over the giant god of lightning, clashing with Kong Hai, sending him flying along with his sword. Kong Hai's entire body was shaken to the point that his spiritual power was unstable, his spirit was shaken, and his blood and chi were in turmoil. He had actually been injured in that exchange just now. The giant god of lightning's body also collapsed, but it was not destroyed by Kong Hai. Instead, it transformed on its own, collapsing but not dissipating, turning into a sea of lightning that trapped Kong Hai. The lightning lashed at Kong Hai like whips, constantly whittling away at his spiritual power. Kong Hai was shocked. His heavenly sword escape's sharp spiritual power was actually on the verge of collapse under the bombardment of the opponent's azure lightning. If this continued for a long time, Lei Jie would definitely break through his defenses and use his lightning to destroy him. At this point, Kong Hai did not dare to continue stubbornly. He hurriedly called out, "I'll give you 5 golden hoops." Although he was a little cowardly, he still had 5 golden hoops left. It was not impossible for him to continue advancing. There was no mortal enmity between them, and it was not necessary to fight to the death. Perhaps an all-out attack could injure the opponent, but Kong Hai did not think that was necessary. Since Kong Hai was willing to hand over the 5 golden hoops, Lei Jie did not continue to force him. He took the 5 golden hoops and left. The golden number above his head also changed from 5 to 10. Kong Hai looked at the number 5 above his head and smiled wryly. This turn of events caught the spectators by surprise. Kong Hai, who had been proud of himself just a moment ago, had become someone else's bride in the blink of an eye. Apart from Lei Jie replacing Kong Hai in collecting the 10 golden hoops, there was another direct result of this sudden change, which was that Zhou Yunsong, who had been slightly behind Kong Hai in time, advanced to the 3rd stage in 5th place. Lei Jie had only just obtained the golden hoops from Kong Hai, so he naturally fell behind Zhou Yunsong. In the end, Lei Jie advanced to the 3rd stage in 6th place. In 7th place was Chu Yang, who had found the golden hoops he had hidden in the beginning. This dark horse who had stood out in the 2nd stage could be considered a dark horse to the very end, stunning everyone. Even if he did not have any performance in the 3rd stage, he could be considered to have made a name for himself in this Dharma assembly. Everyone's attention was focused on the illusion of light and shadow. Now there's only one advancing spot left, but it was still up in the air. Chapter 688. After Chu Yang successfully collected all 10 golden rings and advanced to the 3rd stage in 7th place, there was only one spot left to advance to the next stage. At the moment, the situation in the pocket dimension was still unclear. Because cultivators could snatch each other's golden rings, no one could guarantee that they would be able to advance to the next stage until the very last moment. Even if they collected all 10 golden rings, they would need to survive the last 15 minutes to be able to use them to their fullest potential. Kong Hai was the best example. At the last moment, he was robbed by Lei Jie and could only bitterly continue searching for the golden rings. Zhu Yi's voice rang out at the same time in the Xianmen Tianzong True Disciple Room, in the Spreading Law Hall, and in the Central Hall of the Cloud Peak. There are many unexpected situations, and it's hard to predict whether it's a blessing or a curse. Other than calmly facing it when it happens, you have to accumulate more experience and practice. Take this fellow Taoist Kong Hai from the Heavenly Sword Sect as an example. His true strength isn't enough for him to collect all 10 golden rings so quickly, but he has his own advantage, which is that his movement technique is fast enough. That's why by chance, when others are fighting, he actually benefits from it. But his true strength is still lacking. So when his advantage in speed is gone, he can only give up his golden rings to Lei Jie, who is stronger in both speed and direct combat ability. Xiaoyan also smiled. To forge iron, one needs to be strong. Otherwise, even if one can live happily for a while, there will come a time when he hits a wall. The group of Xianmen Tianzong disciples nodded in agreement. After Xiao Yan and Zhu Yi finished their lecture, Yang Qing smiled and said, "But this fellow Taoist, Lei Jie's strength is also extraordinary. Although fellow Taoist Kong Hai is known for his speed, his strength isn't inferior to fellow Taoist Song Qingyuan from the Heaven Pool sect and fellow Taoist Gu Lei from the Purple Cloud Taoist." Yu Hongyan also nodded and smiled. This Lei Jie is indeed extraordinary. I remember that the 9-Chi True Thunder Body is a top-notch lightning Dao cultivation physique. Zhu Yi said, other than his innate bone frame, this person is also outstanding in other aspects. Although there were some accidental factors, his advancement isn't considered an underdog. Luo Qingwu smiled and said, "Senior brother, who do you think will be the last one to advance?" Ing Rosa, Goldie, Murong Yanran, Wan Xiao, and Luo here not among these 5. Zhu Yi smiled. Originally, there should have been no suspense. However, the affairs of the world are unpredictable. As for who it will be, that will depend on fate. Sure, Jingyun of the Great Qin dynasty also had high hopes, but after what happened just now, he doesn't have a single gold ring left. It's going to be very difficult. Luo Qingwu and the rest nodded. At this moment, in the illusory scene of light and shadow, a few people appeared. The numbers above their heads were bigger, which meant that they had many golden hoops and were in the lead. Huang Jinting had 6 golden rings, Ing Luoza had 9, Murong Yinran had 6, Zhuge Wanqiu had 7, and Purple Cloud Dao Luo, he had 6. They were the 5 people who had the most golden rings in the small world right now. However, Huang Jinting was in a bit of trouble now. He was being targeted by Shi Jingyun and Shi Shaoqian. The little princess was first ambushed by Fan Xiefeng and then benefited from Chu Yang. She was in a bad mood. When she saw Huang Jinting, it was as if she had seen her enemy. Her eyes reddened, and when she saw the huge golden number 6 above Goldie's head, she did not hesitate to attack. Sure, Shaoqian and Goldie did not have much interaction, but the 6 golden rings in Goldie's hands were undoubtedly very attractive to him, so he immediately attacked. Huang Jinting was entangled by them. Seeing that neither of them had golden numbers above their heads, he did not want to bother. Although he had the temperament of a child, he knew that getting results in the spell assembly was more important. However, after being entangled by Shi Jingyun and Shi Shaoqian for a long time, and even seeing a Qiongqi slip past him, Goldie's temper flared, and the 3 of them immediately fought. Inside the All-Heavens Hall, Xiao Yin and the others looked at Zhu Yi. Zhu Yi showed a rare bitter smile and shook his head. Goldie, I'm afraid we won't make it in time. If Shi Jingyun and the others had golden rings, Huang Jinting would at least gain something if he won. Now it would be a waste of time. If Shi Jingyun and the others won, they would get 6 golden rings from Huang Jinting. If Huang Jinting won, he would get nothing. Other than Huang Jinting, the other disciple of Xianmen Tianzong, Zhuge Wanqiu, was also in trouble. Zhuge Wanqiu had 7 golden rings on her body. To others, she was undoubtedly a big fish. So many people came to attack her. Facing the attacks of 3 opponents, Zhuge Wanqiu was still handling them with ease, but her mind was a little uneasy. Not far away, a man dressed in a different tribe's attire was staring at them silently, as if he was observing his prey and waiting for an opportunity to attack. There was a scar on the man's right shoulder. It was obvious that he had gone through a big battle. The golden number 2 above his head indicated that he had 2 golden rings on his body. The man did not attack Zhuge Wanqiu, but he did not have any intention of helping her either. It was as if he was waiting for the 3 people to exhaust Zhuge Wanqiu's magic power and spirit. Zhuge Wanqiu looked at the wound on the man's shoulder, and her heart skipped a beat. This injury seems to be caused by Irosa. As if noticing Zhuge Wanqiu's gaze, the man laughed coldly. The 3 people attacking Zhuge Wanqiu also noticed the man and felt a little uneasy. The Northern Militant Royal Court and Xianmen Tianzong had always been close. My name is Zhuolei. You definitely don't know me. The man looked at Zhuge Wanqiu and grinned, but no matter how you looked at it, there was a hint of cruelty in it. However, it is enough that you know Irosa. Zhuge Wanqiu's heart sank. Senior Irosa and I are from the same sect, so of course I know him. The Northern Militant Zhuolei laughed coldly. You don't just know him, right? Don't say that I'm not blind. Even a blind person can see that lowly slave's affection for you. Zhuge Wanqiu frowned. Brother from a Northern Militant Royal Court, our sects have always been on good terms. Aren't your words a little rude? Zhuolei looked up and laughed. An escaped slave who shot his own master. Do you think that you can change your skin by entering Xianmen Tianzong? Dream on. He pointed at Zhuge Wanqiu and laughed cruelly. That lowly slave shot my father, so I will definitely make him pay the price today. You are his lover, so I will start with you. Although I can't really do anything to you in this small world, I can still make you suffer. As he spoke, the blood in his body exploded and he rushed towards Zhuge Wanqiu. Zhuolei was stronger than the other 3. As soon as he joined the battle, the pressure on Zhuge Wanqiu immediately increased. In the All-Heavens Hall, the Northern Militant First Chanyu's eyes narrowed, and he turned to look at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was calm and waved his hand slightly. The personal grudges of the younger generation should be settled by the younger generation. First Chanyu need not worry about it, and I will not take it to heart. In the small world, Zhuolei's moves were ruthless as he tried to get close to Zhuge Wanqiu. He was a martial arts cultivator, while Zhuge Wanqiu was a pure spell cultivator. Once he got close, the situation would become disadvantageous for Zhuge Wanqiu. However, at this moment, a sharp black light came from afar, and immediately forced Zhuo to retreat. Zhuo had suffered under the black light before, so he did not hesitate and immediately retreated. However, one of the cultivators who surrounded Zhuge Wanxiu was not so lucky and did not dodge in time. The black light flashed and directly triggered the protective barrier of the Hongfa Hall. The remaining two people turned pale with fright and hurriedly tried to retreat, but it was no longer up to them. Zhuge Wanxiu, who had been on the defensive, immediately counterattacked. Spell after spell came rolling over, preventing her opponents from escaping. As one of the top disciples in the desolate Sky Valley, Zhuge Wanxiu's magical power and divine power were quite extraordinary. However, her personality was more passive and conservative, and she was used to defending and counterattacking. Just now, Zhuo had been watching from the side, and she was not completely confident, so she slowly dragged it out with her opponent. However, now, she could attack without worry. Zhuo was no longer a threat. This was because a dark-skinned young man was approaching quickly from afar. It was Irosa. Irosa sneered and looked at Zhuo. Zhuo, look at you now. Where's the pride of a grassland wolf? You escaped from me, and now you want to hit on a woman. You are worse than a stray dog. I don't even want to kill you now. You will only dirty my hands for nothing. Zhuo's eyes were filled with shame and anger. He said angrily, "You escaped slave who killed your master. Do you think that you can change everything by worshipping under the Xianmen, Tianzong? A lowly slave will always be a lowly slave. You shot my father, so I will make you pay." Irosa smiled carelessly, revealing his white teeth. "That's right. My father, my mother, and I were once your tribe's slaves. However, were we born to be slaves? My family was originally a herdsman. We fled the famine and joined your tribe. However, we were forced to be slaves by your family. Because you worshipped under the king to learn martial arts, no one dared to interfere." Irosa's eyes were cold. "I killed your father, but if he hadn't whipped my father and mother to death, I would have run away if I had the chance. How could I have rewarded him with that knife?" Irosa opened his arms as if he was embracing the world. "I like my sect. I am grateful to it for allowing me to be where I am today. However, I like this place not only because it has given me so many things, but also because I simply like it here, because I like one of the rules here." Irosa let out a long howl. "Anyone who owes us must pay back. If you dare to not pay back, we will beat you until you pay back." Irosa pointed at Zhuo. "To be honest, your family still owes me a life. I only killed a culprit and don't care about anything else. That is why I did not return to the grassland after becoming a disciple of my sect and starting a massacre. However, you provoke me today. Do you think you can escape a second time? The magical power restriction of the Great Law Hall can protect your life, but can't protect your other belongings." As he spoke, Irosa had already pounced at Zhuo. In an instant, he was already in front of Zhuo. Zhuo had been lucky enough to escape from Irosa's knife. Now, he wanted to escape again, but he was already injured and could not do so. He was trapped by Irosa. In the Great Hall of all heavens, Luo Qingwu watched this scene and frowned slightly. This person is truly despicable, but has he lost his mind? Not to mention that he dares to be so impudent on our sect's Jade Capital Mountain. They're all in the Great Law Hall now. He can't really hurt Irosa, Wanxiu, and the others. Even if he harbors hatred, he should find another opportunity. By doing this now, other than exposing his own intentions, what else can he do? Zhu Yi's expression was calm as he stared at the illusion of light and shadow. He used his magical power to transmit his voice to her. "Junior sister, don't be impatient." "Oh." Luo Qingwu turned her head and glanced at Zhu Yi. She rolled her eyes and did as she was told. She calmed down and waited for any changes. Chapter 689. Previously, Zhuo had once joined hands with others to attack Irosa and was injured by him. Zhuo was quick to seize the opportunity and decisively abandon the others to escape. But this time he could not escape. The second most vicious incident of this spell exchange had occurred. Zhuo had one of his arms and one of his legs cut off by Irosa, becoming a complete cripple. As a martial cultivator, his future was undoubtedly ruined. The people of the other factions were all discussing this. These two vicious incidents with serious consequences were both committed by Xianmin Tianzong's disciples. This inevitably caused others to mutter in their hearts, feeling that Xianmin Tianzong's style was too tyrannical. On the contrary, the cultivators of the northern militant court did not show any dissatisfaction. Most people looked at Zhuo with disdain, and some even felt awkward and ashamed. Strictly speaking, Irosa was also considered a northern militant person. In the eyes of the northern militant court's cultivators, his personal grievances with Zhuo were not a big deal. On the contrary, Zhuo was unable to defeat Irosa, so he went to find trouble with Zhuge Wanqiu. This made many northern militant people feel ashamed. When the tribes of the grasslands fought, it was common for them to rob women and children. When it came to hunting, the result was everything, no matter the means, as long as they won. However, private duels between martial cultivators were seen as a battle between the brave and the strong. Harming others and kidnapping hostages were all things that only the weak would do. Even the northern militant chief Chanyu did not express any dissatisfaction. He did not think that the northern militant court had been slapped in the face by Xianmin Tianzong, but rather that Zhuo had smeared their name. Some cultivators who were familiar with the northern militant people could also see this point. They did not think that this matter would cause a rift between Xianmin Tianzong and the northern militant court. However, some people who did not understand the situation began to let their imaginations run wild. Because of the precedent set by Zhou Yunsong, Xianmin Tianzong once again adopted the policy of not suing the officials and not investigating. In the miniature world, Irosa silently looked at Zhuo who was lying on the ground and staring at him with a venomous gaze. He grinned, his snow-white teeth seeming to flash with a cold light. After leaving the Great Law Hall, no matter when, I welcome you to find me again. But at that time, there will be no Great Law Hall to protect you. Irosa laughed. You should be thankful that you have 2 gold rings on you. For these 2 gold rings, I will give you a quick death. Otherwise, I will leave you here to fend for yourself. Zhuo shouted. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, Ying Luo Zha's palm was like a blade chopping down. The Great Law Hall's mana restriction activated, sending Zhuo out. On the other side, Zhuge Wanqiu had also finished off the remaining 2 opponents. Unfortunately, apart from Zhuo, the others only had 1 golden ring on them. Irosa tossed one of the golden rings to her and put away the other. The golden number above his head changed from 9 to 10. Zhuge Wanqiu smiled and said, Congratulations, senior apprentice brother. You have collected all the golden rings. Irosa looked up and saw the number above her head change from 7 to 8 and then to 9. After a moment of silence, he said, About 100 miles east of here, there is a valley. There is a golden ring buried under the largest pine tree in the forest in the valley. Go and retrieve it. We don't know how many people have advanced. If you hurry up, you might be able to make it. I will accompany you for the last 15 minutes. Zhuge Wanqiu was stunned. Senior apprentice brother Irosa? Irosa nodded. I buried that golden ring. The first time I met Zhuo, I only injured him and let him run away. He said that he would harm you, and from his expression, it didn't seem like he was lying. It seemed like he really had a way to find you, so I chased him all the way. Although this guy is as cowardly as a dog, he grew up in the grasslands. He is very good at tracking and anti-tracking. He just wanted to escape, so I chased him all the way here, Irosa said calmly. Irosa calmly said, With 10 golden rings on me, I'll be teleported away in a quarter of an hour, so I dropped one. But fortunately, Zhuo has 2 ready-made golden rings on him, so I don't have to specially go back. I will have to trouble you. I must get one of Zhuo's golden rings immediately. Although I don't know how Su Yunxing's harvest is, I believe it won't be bad. Irosa pursed his lips. I want to win against him. Zhuge Wanqiu looked at Irosa and mumbled after a long while. Irosa, you don't have to do this. This is Hongfa Hall. Hongfa Hall can only save lives. Irosa interrupted her. I just cut off one of that dog's hands and one of his legs. I have confidence in your cultivation. Jolie, that trash is no match for you in a one-on-one fight. Even with the 3 people just now, even if I didn't arrive, they wouldn't be able to do anything to you. But what if there are more enemies in a more dangerous environment? There are many dangers in this small world, and accidents are bound to happen. Us Xianmin Tianzong disciples are also the target of everyone, so I have to be careful. Irosa said, now that Jolie has been taken care of, even if we meet people from other sects, we might still be in danger, but we are much safer. Zhuge Wanqiu looked into Irosa's eyes. Senior brother Irosa, have you ever thought that during the time you were helping me, senior brother Su might have already advanced to the 2nd stage? Irosa clenched his fists, but he remained silent and did not speak. Zhuge Wanqiu also did not speak and silently walked side by side with Irosa, hurrying east. The golden numbers above their heads, 110 and the other 9, naturally attracted many people's attention, but they were all defeated by the 2 of them. It was a pity that these people did not have golden rings. Irosa suddenly stopped and looked at Zhuge Wanqiu, saying, my time is up. It's up to you now. Be careful. Zhuge Wanqiu nodded. Senior brother, don't worry, I'll be fine. In the next moment, the golden numbers above Irosa's head suddenly dispersed, turning into a golden pillar of light that enveloped Irosa. The top of the pillar of light shot straight into the sky, and Irosa's body automatically floated up into the sky under the guidance of the pillar of light. Once enveloped by the pillar of light, the cultivator would not be able to leave the pillar, and the people outside would not be able to attack the cultivator within the pillar of light. Zhuge Wanqiu looked at his departing figure in a daze and faintly sighed. Senior brother, you really didn't have to do this. In the All Heavens Hall, Xiao Yin, Wang Lin, and the rest of the disciples congratulated Zhu Yi, congratulating him for having 2 of his disciples advance to the final 3rd stage and obtain a place in the top 8. Although there were many twists and turns, in the end, Irosa still obtained the last place. Xiao Yin smiled. Second junior brother, congratulations. Zhu Yi smiled faintly. Quite a lot of tricks. Unconcerned, Xiao Yin smiled. Even if everything went according to plan, at most there would be some changes in the final ranking, but the candidates are basically as expected. Other than the dark horse from beyond Heaven Mountain, the top 8 is basically within our range of expectations. However, it is a pity that little junior brother's disciples, little Huang and Wanqiu, third junior brother's disciple Xingwan, and Taishu Temple's disciple Fan Xiefeng are all people who have the strength to fight for the top 8. Wang Lin said, the first and second stages of the assessment set by Master are more likely to be accidental, but this is actually the test of the junior's comprehensive strength, and also the best way to train them. The affairs of the world are always changing, and there will always be many accidents. Yu Hongyan smiled. However, the next third stage can finally let them breathe a sigh of relief. None of her disciples could advance to the third stage. Ku Jing was besieged in the Starry Sky Pagoda and accidentally touched the starlight circulation restriction, so she was forced to turn back and wasted too much time. As a result, her group did not manage to squeeze into the top 8 of the first stage and lost the qualification to participate in the second stage. Zhao Huan, on the other hand, was delayed because of Guardian Zhou Yunsong. Although the two of them tried their best to catch up, in the end, they only managed to catch the last train and narrowly obtained the 8th place in the first stage, obtaining the qualification to enter the second stage. However, because they entered the miniature world too late, although Zhao Huan's strength was quite good, her starting point was still far behind the others. Until now, she had only just obtained her 4th golden ring. However, Yu Hongyan did not care too much about this. Her idea was very simple. She would find problems and oversights, learn from them, and go back to double the training of her disciples who loved to slack off. As Xiao Yin and the others teased each other, Li Yuanfang turned to look at Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Li Yuanfang used her transcendence energy to transmit her voice to Shi Tianhao, who was in charge of the spreading law hall. Tianhao, it's done. Sure, Tianhao clasped his palms together, and a dozen light pillars immediately descended from the miniature world, covering the remaining people in it. Initially, there were almost 40 people who entered. After eliminating the top 8, there were less than 20 people left. There were also more than a dozen people who died in the miniature world. Some are besieged by Qiongqi at the beginning, and some were sent out when competing with other cultivators for the golden rings. When Rosa came out of the miniature world, he found out that he was actually the 8th place. Not only was he not happy, but his expression was gloomy, especially when he found out that Su Yunsheng was the 1st place. Rosa's originally dark face turned even darker. Zhuge Wanqiu and the remaining people were sent out of the miniature world by Shi Tianhao. After understanding the situation, the group of Xianmin Tianzong disciples felt sorry for her. Zhuge Wanqiu, on the other hand, was more open-minded and did not care much. Instead, she even comforted Huang Jinting. Everyone looked at the top 8, especially when they saw Zhou Yunsong and Chu Yang. Those who had not seen them before were extremely shocked. Su Yunsheng, Dao Yuding, and the others also looked up and down at Zhou Yunsong. This was also the first time they knew that their junior brother Zhou was so hidden. Shi Tianhao came in front of everyone and said with a smile, "Let's first distribute the rewards for the 2nd stage. Everyone in the top 8 will have a reward, but the rewards will be different. The higher the ranking, the better the reward." The most eye-catching reward was undoubtedly the Yuanying Realm Magic Tool that Su Yunsheng had obtained. Many young cultivators in the Spreading Law Hall looked at this scene enviously. Not to mention anything else, with this reward, even if Su Yunsheng immediately forfeited the competition, he would have already earned a lot. On the other hand, although Su Yunsheng and the other 7 people were also happy to obtain the generous reward, they all quickly put away their rewards and focused on Shi Tianhao. Their minds were now completely focused on the 3rd stage. What a joke! They had already reached this step. Who wouldn't want to be the person who came out on top in the end? Seeing this, Shi Tianhao smiled with satisfaction. The 8 of you have obtained the qualifications to advance to the 3rd stage. This time, it will not be difficult for you. The 3rd stage is the arena battle. The 8 of you will fight one-on-one, and the winner will advance. Previously, before the 2nd stage began, your final ranking in the 2nd stage will also affect the 3rd stage. Chapter 690. Shi Tianhao looked at Su Yunsheng's group of 8 in front of him and formed a seal with both hands. With a change of magic power, the small world and the starry sky pagoda disappeared. The scene in front of everyone in the Spreading Law Hall turned into an upper and lower space again. The lower space was still completely dark and not activated. Only the upper space was open to everyone. The top 8 of the 2nd stage will fight in reverse order according to the order of passing the test. Sure, Tianhao said. The 1st will fight against the 8th, the 2nd will fight against the 7th, and so on. At the same time, the side with the higher ranking will have the right to decide the type of venue. Whether it was Su Yunsheng's group of 8 or the spectating cultivators, they were all slightly moved when they heard this news. Compared to fighting in reverse order, the 2nd point was actually the biggest advantage for the side with the higher ranking. The cultivators participating in the spell gathering were all in the golden elixir period and foundation building stage. In the process of fighting, if one side had an obvious geographical advantage, it would greatly increase their strength and might even cause the balance of victory to be unbalanced. However, this was decided from the beginning, and it was also the reward that the winner of the 2nd stage deserved, so no one raised any objections. Everyone began to ponder. The 1st against the 8th, that's senior brother Su against senior brother Rosa. Huang Jinting became spirited. The 2 of them are going against each other so quickly. This match is going to be interesting. A layer of worry appeared on Zhuge Wanqiu's face. Rosa's previous gloominess was instantly swept away, and he became full of fighting spirit and spirit. Su Yunsheng was still as calm as Mount Tai, and his expression did not change. The 2nd against the 7th, senior sister Yuding against the Beyond Sky Mountains. What's his name again? Huang Jinting scratched his head in embarrassment. Zhuge Wanqiu came back to her senses and said, Chuyang. Yes, seen your sister Yuding against that Chu Yang from the Beyond Sky Mountain. Huang Jinting nodded. The third against the sixth. In the central hall of the Cloud Peak, a youth silently looked at Lei Jie in the light and shadow illusion and murmured, the third against the sixth, Taishu Temple's Chan Xingyu against the Lei clan's Lei Jie. Fourth versus fifth, Tong versus Yun Song. In the All-Heaven Great Hall, Xiao Yin, who was talking cheerfully and wittily a moment ago, had a bitter expression on his face. Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, and the others also had helpless expressions on their faces as they looked at their eldest senior brother with sympathy. In the eyes of others, this last group was another civil war in Xianmen Tianzong. Many people were gloating. Xianmen Tianzong had set their own rules, and this time, they had dug a hole for themselves. There were many cultivators from various sects participating in this Dharma exchange. Although Xianmen Tianzong had the largest number of people as a single force, it was the minority overall. However, in the end, Xianmen Tianzong was still as strong as before. In the end, they occupied 5 spots in the top 8, including Zhuge Wanqiu, Li Xingfei, Huang Jinting, and the others who had the strength to make it to the top 8. Xianmen Tianzong might even have the chance to make it to the top 8. Such a domineering and strong performance was really eye-catching. It reminded Dao Master Chang'el, Huoxiu, Sword Master Solar, Sword Master Flowing Light, and the others of the Desolate Sea Dharma Assembly. In this Dharma exchange, Su Yunsheng and the others did not display the overwhelming and despair-inducing might that Zhu Yi and Shi Tianhao did in the past. However, compared to the Desolate Sea Dharma Assembly, Xianmen Tianzong only had Zhu Yi and Shi Tianhao participating in the competition during the Golden Elixir period. In this Kunlun Mountain Dharma Assembly, Xianmen Tianzong showed an endless stream of talents and a strong and broad foundation. This brought a different kind of pressure to the other sections. However, because of the rules, although 5 people from Xianmen Tianzong advanced to the top 8, 2 internal fights broke out in the first round. Lin Feng looked at this scene with interest. He did not mind that 2 of his disciples were destined to be eliminated in the first round. Since the rules were set, everyone should abide by them. In general, the top 8 candidates were basically within his expectations. Unlike Xiao Yin, Zhu Yi, and the others, who also regarded Chu Yang as an unexpected dark horse, Lin Feng had mentally predicted that Chu Yang would be in the top 8 when he first participated in the Dharma exchange. As for the specific ranking after the second stage and the final results of the Dharma Assembly, it was hard to say. After all, there were many variables. In Lin Feng's expectations, Zhou Yunsong, Chan Xingyu, Chu Yang, Dao Yuding, Su Yunsheng, and Ing Luoza were basically in the bag. Lin Tong, Huang Jinting, Zhuge Wanqiu, Li Xingfei, Lei Jie, Fan Xiefeng, and Shi Jingyun competed for the remaining 2 spots. In the end, Lin Tong and Lei Jie successfully broke through. Lin Feng's expectations for Lin Tong and Huang Jinting were slightly lower. It was not because he had no confidence in their abilities, but because their temperaments were unstable. Their performance fluctuated too much and was full of accidental factors. From a certain point of view, the Great Qin Dynasty Shi Jingyun was also this type of person. Looking at the final results, Xiao Tong's luck was not bad. She had encountered 2 waves of people who came to her door with gifts, so she accepted them with a smile. Not only did she successfully advance, she even obtained 4th place. As for Huang Jinting, he was the kind of person who encountered accidents. However, Lin Tong's luck had also come to an end. In reality, after Zhou Yunsong successfully advanced to 5th place, the carefree Xiao Yin did not pay too much attention. However, Lin Feng was already shaking his head with a smile. In the top 8, Tong can actually put up a fight against anyone, but she's afraid of encountering Xiao Qingzi's disciple, Zhou Yunsong. Let Tong randomly pick 2 people from the top 8. It'll be easier for her to fight 1 against 2 than fighting Yunsong. This time, Lin Tong had encountered her nemesis. If there was one person in the top 8 who could definitely defeat her, it would be Zhou Yunsong. When she faced Zhou Yunsong, it was like the Taishu Temple disciple, Ding Runfeng, who had a pure yang body, encountered Zhou Yunsong. She was completely countered. Perhaps Zhou Yunsong himself did not care, but objectively speaking, the opponents he liked to meet the most were people like Lin Tong and Ding Runfeng. Cultivators who cultivated in fire-type Dao techniques and divine abilities needed to have at least 2 great true fires in hand. Relying on the complementary power of the 2 fires, only then would they be able to fight against Zhou Yunsong's burning yang body, who was at the same level. However, they would only not be countered. They would no longer be at a disadvantage and could finally fight on equal grounds. Who would win and who would lose would involve many factors, and the outcome would only be known after they truly fought. However, the 7 great true fires were one of the most violent forces in the world, and it was very difficult for them to coexist in the same person's body. Cultivating more than one kind of true fire at the same time was easier said than done. Extraordinary talents like Xiaoyan were, after all, extremely rare. They also needed the support of a top-notch Dao technique, like the heavenly Dao scripture. Even the Xiao Yin had suffered a lot when he cultivated it in the past. Little Lin Tong was talented and had a deep foundation, so there was some hope. However, if she, who was only at the foundation establishment stage and only had a pure yang true fire, went to fight with Zhou Yunsong, she would only be sending herself to death. If Tong, and Yunsong were to fight against the third person, the difference in their performance wouldn't be too big. However, if the 2 of them were to fight against each other, the current Tong might lose. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. It was precisely because of this that Xiao Yin couldn't help but frown. Yang Qing also smiled bitterly again and again, not knowing what to say. In the spreading law hall, Yin Wuwei, who didn't know the situation, was still muttering, "Junior Marshal Brother Zhou, that taciturn gourd, is really a real person who doesn't show his true colors." He actually made it into the top 8. When he first ascended the Starry Sky Pagoda, it was a lot later. However, don't look down on Junior Marshal's sister because she is young. She is very strong. Junior Marshal Brother Zhou shouldn't be her opponent. Our Burning Heaven Cliff disciples can make it into the top 4. Lu Xiaofeng, who was beside Yin Wuwei, turned his head and looked at him. His strange gaze made Yin Wuwei's hair stand on end. Lu Xiaofeng smiled bitterly and said, "Meeting Su Yunsheng and Ing Luo Jia. Meeting Senior Marshal Sister Yuting, and that Taishu Temple's Chun Xingyu. Hi, let's put it this way. No matter who she meets in the top 8, I have confidence in Junior Marshal's sister. Only meeting Yin Song, we can only blame our bad luck." Yin Wuwei was dumbfounded. Brother Feng, Lu Xiaofeng said, "Junior Marshal Brother Zhou innately restrains cultivators who cultivate in yang attribute Dao techniques. Whether it is my true sun fire or Junior Marshal's sister's pure yang true fire, it is the same." Yin Wuwei asked curiously, "Brother Feng, how do you know?" Lu Xiaofeng didn't answer but asked, "Haven't you been wondering that my strength didn't improve compared to the cave-dwelling competition 3 months ago? Instead, it has regressed?" Yin Wuwei nodded in confusion. Lu Xiaofeng opened his palm. "Not long ago, I pulled Junior Marshal Brother Zhou to compete with me. In the end, I suffered a crushing defeat. More than half of the true sun fire that I cultivated was destroyed by him. This was even under the situation where he desperately held back. Otherwise, I would have cultivated the great sun, brilliant heaven, Dao, canon all these years for nothing." Yin Wuwei was dumbfounded and couldn't say a word. Shi Tianhao's voice continued to sound in his ears. "The 3rd stage will naturally have a reward. The first place will be qualified to be baptized by the primordial starlight." As soon as this was said, the reaction was not very strong. Most people, including the 8 people in front of Shi Tianhao, had a confused expression on their faces. They didn't understand what this reward meant. Shi Tianhao didn't explain further and continued. "From the 2nd to the 4th place, the disciples of our sect will be given the opportunity to enter the Xiantian eternal light grotto heaven to cultivate. Fellow Taoists from other sects will be given the right to enter the Xiantian realm freely. Those who lose in the first round, don't be discouraged. There will be a reward too. Shi Tianhao smiled slightly. Those who lose in the first round will be given a chance to challenge one of the 8 of us. You can choose any one of us. We can learn from each other's Tao techniques. It can also be considered as helping each other. Shi Tianhao stuck out his thumb and pointed at his nose. He smiled and said, "For example, you can challenge me. All 4 of you can choose me and take turns." Shi Tianhao's words were polite, but the spreading law hall was instantly stirred. The fame of the direct disciple of the profound Gates master had already spread far and wide. Su Yunsheng and the other 7 people didn't have much of a reaction. They were still aiming for the top 4. Not to mention the reward, the reputation was completely different. Only Chu Yang's eyes flickered slightly, and he was a little distracted. Chapter 691. Chu Yang's purpose in participating in this spell assembly was very clear. He wanted to show his face and leave an impression on everyone, especially on the celestial sect of Mystic Gate. This would make it easier for his Beyond Heaven Mountain and the celestial sect of Mystic Gate to deepen their relationship in the future. Since he wanted to leave an impression, he had to leave a good one. He had to be in the limelight and have a good reputation, but he couldn't let a guest steal the limelight. Chu Yang had his own pride as a person, and he was also hot-blooded and ambitious. However, his special experiences had made him more cool-headed and more pragmatic. He did not fight for a moment's fame. Thus, Chu Yang had a rough idea of what to do after participating in the spell assembly. It was about time for him to stop while he was ahead. Based on his performance in the second stage, he had already achieved his expected goal. After all, there were still many coincidental factors in the first and second stages. The third stage was a competition of strength, especially since his first opponent was the only golden elixir period cultivator of Xianmin Tianzong's second generation, Dao Yuding. She was very powerful. Whether or not he could beat her was another matter. If he really wanted to fight her head-on, Chu Yang would undoubtedly have to use his true skills. That wouldn't be something that could be deceived with 1 or 2 tokens, and he would definitely expose many of his secrets. With so many big shots watching from above, it was fine if Chu Yang didn't make a move, but once he did, there was no way he could hide it. In fact, Chu Yang had sufficient reason to suspect that even if it was just a few tokens, it might cause some people to think that they would rather kill the wrong person than let him go. Under such circumstances, continuing to be high profile would only result in him courting death. Chu Yang had already considered everything before participating in the spell assembly, so he had to decisively hide his abilities. This had been Chu Yang's plan all along. Now, Shi Tianhao's announcement of the reward had brought him a pleasant surprise, a chance to challenge. Chu Yang took a deep breath and composed himself, stabilizing his state of mind. Shi Tianhao's gaze swept across the faces of the 8 people participating in the third stage. We'll proceed in reverse order. 4th and 5th, step forward first. The others returned to their respective quiet rooms to rest and watch the battle, leaving only Lin Tong and Zhou Yunsong in the arena. The little girl looked curiously at her opponent. Those who already understood Zhou Yunsong's background looked at little Lin Tong with sympathy. The little girl's strength was outstanding, but unfortunately, she was a bit unlucky. In Marquis Jing Huan's private room, Xiang Heng and Wang Lu, who had already returned, stared at Zhou Yunsong. Xiang Heng said in a deep voice, "It seems to be this Zhou Yunsong, but I didn't expect him to join Yang Qing's sect instead of Xiao Yan's." Wang Lu nodded. "Actually, we should have thought of it. He's learning from Xiao Yan, so it's easier for him to go berserk, and his power will backfire on him." Marquis Jing Huan held a folding fan in his right hand. He closed it and lightly tapped it against his left palm. His eyes flashed. So that's how it is. Is the burning Yang constitution what the Grandmaster wants? To be able to survive the spontaneous combustion of the burning Yang physique is indeed rare. He turned his head to look at Xiang Heng and Wang Lu. What does Great Master need the blazing sun body for? Xiang Heng and Wang Lu shook their heads. To tell you the truth, Lord Marquis, we really don't know. We are only following the Grandmaster's orders. Pretending to be mysterious, you've made this Marquis rather interested. Marquis Jing Huan chuckled, but it caused Xiang Hung and Wang Li's expressions to change. They knew that this Marquis was the epitome of a lawless person who did things without the slightest scruples. Marquis Jing Huan pointed at them with his folding fan and smiled. Relax. This Marquis is just saying, I don't have the time to deal with such trivial matters. The great Zhou has been pressing me for the Atlas. This Marquis's thoughts are all on this matter. It's given me a headache. Although Marquis Jing Huan said this, there was no nervousness on his face. Xiang Hung and Wang Lu fell silent. After a long while, Wang Lu whispered, the two of us are only responsible for running errands. I'm afraid we won't be able to bear the heavy responsibility of carrying Lord Marquis's words. Marquis Jing Huan smiled indifferently. Of course this Marquis knows. This Marquis will personally tell the Grandmaster about this matter. I have no intention of asking you to carry any messages. Whatever the Grandmaster orders you to do, just do it. However, if anything goes wrong, you will bear the consequences yourself. Xiang Hung and Wang Lu nodded. Of course. Their gazes once again focused on Zhou Yunsong in the arena, their eyes flashing. Su Yunsheng returned to the Qian Tian Hall's quiet room. Sun Xuer, Yang Tai, and the other disciples all congratulated him on taking first place in the second stage. Su Yunsheng returned their greetings one by one before asking about the others. Inside the Starry Sky Pagoda and the small world, the cultivators participating in the spell assembly naturally had no way of knowing the overall situation. Senior brother Ing Rosa barely managed to take 8th place. In fact, he had already gathered all 10 golden rings. If nothing unexpected happened, he should be in the top 3. It's a pity that he spent too much time on senior sister Zhuge. Sun Xuer shook her head and sighed. It's also a pity for senior sister Zhuge. She was in 9th place, just a little bit away. After hearing this, Su Yunqing's expression did not change. After sitting for a while, he stood up and walked out of the room, arriving outside the desolate Sky Valley's quiet room. He did not open the door and stood outside like a statue. After a long silence, he finally turned around and left. Just as he turned around, he saw a gentle girl walking toward him. It was Zhuge Wanqiu. Zhuge Wanqiu saw Su Yunsheng and was slightly stunned. Senior brother Su Yunsheng opened his mouth and paused for a moment before saying softly, It's a pity that you almost made it into the top 8. Yes, I still need to work hard. Zhuge Wanqiu replied with a smile and tilted her head slightly to look at Su Yunsheng. Su Yunsheng was silent for a moment before saying, Everyone, let's work hard together. After saying that, he walked forward and brushed past Zhuge Wanqiu. The battle between junior brother Zhou and junior sister Lin is about to begin. Watch carefully, and I believe you will gain something. Zhuge Wanqiu stood where she was and silently watched his back until Su Yunsheng disappeared from her sight. After a long while, she shook her head and sighed softly. She turned around and returned to the quiet room. Su Yunsheng also returned to the room where the Qian Tian Palace disciples gathered. As soon as he entered, he saw Ing Rosa sitting there and staring intently at Zhou Yunsong and Lin Tong in the illusion of light and shadow. Su Yunsheng looked at Ing Rosa and his eyes moved slightly, but he quickly regained his calmness. Junior sister Lin Tong chose such a place as the battlefield. Her strength must have increased by at least 50%. Ing Rosa suddenly said without turning his head, In such an environment, neither you nor I are her match. Su Yunsheng looked up and saw that the arena had already turned into a sea of pure white flames. The flames were blazing and the aura was monstrous. Lin Tong was ranked 4th while Zhou Yunsong was ranked 5th. Thus, Lin Tong was the one who decided the environment of the arena. The little girl did not hold back at all and directly turned the entire arena into a sea of pure yang fire. Su Yunqing nodded. In such an environment, I am not junior sister Lin Tong's match, but I feel that junior sister Lin Tong is most likely going to lose. Sun Xuer mumbled. Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa looked at her strangely. Sun Xuer hurriedly told them about Zhou Yunsong's previous performance, especially how his Burning Sun Vitality Breaker destroyed Yang Likuan's Red Lotus Karmic Fire like boiling soup splashing snow. Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa looked at each other and then at Yang Tai and the others. They saw the group of junior brothers nodding in unison. In the All Heavens Great Hall, Lin Feng could not help but shake his head and laugh when he saw Lin Tong choose this arena. My little Tong, you're really too naive. Xiaoyan also smiled bitterly. However, the two of them did not remind Lin Tong in advance. The little girl's temperament was immature and innocent. If she walked outside, it would be very easy for her to suffer losses. So, they just treated this as giving her some experience. Sure, Tianhao was watching from the side. Even if Zhou Yunsong used the Burning Sun Vitality Breaker, there would not be any big accidents. The development of the situation was not out of Lin Feng and his disciples' expectations. Little Lin Tong had hit a wall. Zhou Yunsong's violent Burning Sun Vitality Breaker was fighting against her pure Yang fire. With Lin Tong's home ground advantage, it was difficult for her to make any progress in a short time. However, he only released a little bit of the Burning Sun Vitality Breaker's aura, which immediately caused the little girl's beautiful face to turn pale. The little girl did not have much experience in fighting with others, but she was very talented. She was extremely sensitive to the concept of the Burning Sun Vitality Breaker's power. Like a mouse seeing a cat, or a rabbit seeing a wolf, she felt the pressure of a natural enemy. A black light flashed on Zhou Yunsong's body, which immediately destroyed a large part of the sea of pure Yang fire in the arena. Such a large-scale destruction of the fire made the power of his Burning Sun Vitality Breaker further increase, and there were even faint signs of it going out of control. Lin Tong's own pure Yang fire was not damaged. She could clearly feel her helplessness in facing this opponent, so she could only unwillingly admit defeat. It was only at this moment that the cultivators who participated in the second stage truly saw how terrifying Zhou Yunsong was. Although there was a natural restraint factor, Zhou Yunsong's strong performance still made everyone feel pressure. Ing Rose's eyes were fixed on Zhou Yunsong in the arena, and he did not speak for a long time. Su Yunxing's gaze was not as aggressive as Ing Rose's, but all of his attention was on Zhou Yunsong, and he kept imagining what would happen if he were in Lin Tong's position. Ing Rosa, do you know what I'm thinking right now? Suddenly, Su Yunsheng used his transcendence energy to transmit his voice to Ing Rosa. Ing Rosa did not move, and his eyes were still fixed on Zhou Yunsong. Su Yunsheng did not mind, and said to himself, I'm thinking that you and I are both very laughable. Ing Rosa was silent. He understood what Su Yunsheng meant. Ever since they entered the sect, the two of them had been constantly fighting for the position of number one among the second-generation disciples. In fact, they had always been the two most outstanding second-generation disciples, and they could be said to be the brightest of time. Ing Rosa was even more arrogant, and he did not care about Li Xingfei, Lu Xiaofeng, and the others. Among the cultivators of the same generation, he had always set his sights on Su Yunsheng. On the other hand, although Su Yunsheng was usually modest and polite, he was also extremely arrogant. Disregarding other aspects, just in terms of cultivation, how could he not view Ing Rosa as his only rival? This situation continued until Dao Yuding entered the sect, but Dao Yuding was already in the late stage of foundation establishment the moment she entered the sect. Her situation was very special, and although Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa respected her, they did not think that they were inferior to Dao Yuding at the same level. Although little Lin Tong had been specially nurtured by Lin Feng and Xiao Yin to be able to cultivate the Dao of the human race, he was still a spirit monster, and his situation was also special. But today, Zhou Yunsong's appearance had a huge impact on Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa. Inside the All Heavens Palace, Zhu Yi swept out with his divine sense and discovered the shocked state of his disciples. Chapter 692. Zhu Yi could easily understand what Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa were thinking. Zhou Yunsong's dominance not only hit the confidence of the young cultivators from the other forces, but also hit his own fellow disciples. This was also a test for Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa. If they could stabilize their state of mind, adjust their mentality, and turn the pressure into motivation, they might be able to take a step further, dig out more potential, and look forward to a higher future. Therefore, whether it was Lin Feng or Zhu Yi, they were actually happy to see this happen. As one of the people involved, Zhou Yunsong didn't feel anything about it. Right now, all his energy was used to suppress his mana that was about to go out of control again. Fortunately, Shi Tianhao was right next to him and could give him a hand. Meanwhile, little Lin Tong was like an eggplant that had been hit by frost. She listlessly came to the quiet room where Xiao Zhen'er was. As soon as she entered the room, she was like an injured little beast as she softly said, "Mother, Tong are lost." Xiao Zhen'er smiled and pulled her in her arms. "It's just a spar between fellow disciples. Don't worry about the outcome." Little Lin Tong pouted, "I still want to enter the top 4 and bring glory to Daddy." Xiao Zhen'er scratched her little nose and said with a smile, "No matter what your results are, Big Brother Xiao Yan and I will be proud of you. We never give you any pressure. We just want you to live a relaxed and happy life." Little Tong snuggled in Xiao Zhen'er's arms and comfortably twisted her little body. Suddenly, she remembered something. "All right, Tong still has to challenge someone later." "Mother, which uncle do you think I should challenge?" Xiao Zhen'er said with a smile. "That's up to you to decide." Lin Tong's big black and white eyes rolled around as many thoughts flashed through her little brain. At the same time, Shi Tianhao had already announced the start of the second round of quarterfinals. The two participants were Chun Xingyu from Taishu Temple and Lei Jie from Lei Clan, who had obtained 3rd and 6th place respectively in the second stage of the Dharma Assembly. Inside the All Heavens Great Hall, Lin Feng revealed an interested expression when he saw this scene. This is the only duel that I can't predict before the duel officially starts. Chun Xingyu has a higher chance of winning, but Lei Jie isn't that bad either." Inside the spreading law hall, the cultivators of the various forces were also in heated discussion. Lei Jie's strength was relatively more obvious. He had climbed the Starry Sky Pagoda alone, then killed Qiangqi in the Lesser World, and defeated the Heavenly Sword Sect's swordsman Kong Hai with an overwhelming advantage. On the other hand, Chun Xingyu didn't seem to be particularly outstanding. Along the way, there was nothing particularly outstanding about him. But when they carefully thought about Chun Xingyu's path of advancement, they felt that it was extremely frightening to think about it. In the first stage, his group, Su Yunxing's group, and Ing Rose's group had left the other groups far behind. They were the first to reach the top of the pagoda. If it wasn't for the fact that his group members had an accident and accidentally touched the starlight restriction, it was still a mystery which group would have obtained first place in the first stage. In the second stage, he didn't have any conflicts with anyone. He simply hunted Qiangqi and collected 10 golden rings. He fought his way into the top 3, just behind Su Yunsheng and Dao Yuding. He didn't let Xianmin Tianzong have the upper hand. In a sense, Chun Xingyu's performance in the second stage was the most outstanding. The Dharma Assembly allowed cultivators to compete for the golden rings, which made the results more random. Kong Hai's experience was the most illustrative. In a short period of time, the number of golden rings he had went from 3 to 10, and then quickly dropped to 5. The ups and downs were more exciting than a roller coaster. Zhou Yunsong was the last group to enter the pocket dimension, and he passed the test in 5th place. The key was that he had obtained both Li Xingfei and Yang Likuan's golden rings at the same time. He had originally only had 1 golden ring, but now he had 8, which helped him make up for the time he had wasted in the first stage. There was no need to mention Chu Yang. He had obtained 9 golden rings at once, and in addition to the one he had hidden at the beginning, he had immediately made up the number. And Chun Xingyu was the only one in the top 8 who hadn't snatched anyone's golden ring, nor had anyone snatched it from him. He had used the most primitive and original method of obtaining golden rings, which was to hunt Qiangqi to complete the task. His advancement was the least random, and on this basis, he had obtained third place. From a certain point of view, he was very valuable. But it was also because he had never fought with anyone. And when he hunted Qiongqi, he had only found lone Qiongqi and hadn't displayed much of his strength. That was why his true strength was a mystery. Everyone was curious about the level of this disciple of Taishu Temple. Lei Jie, the young master of the Lei family, who was also known as the Young Heaven's Favored One, was believed to be able to make Chen Xingyu reveal his true strength. Dressed in white, the extraordinarily handsome Chen Xingyu looked at Lei Jie silently. He smiled and cupped his hands. "Brother Lei, please." He was third in the second stage, so he had the right to choose the battlefield's environment. But Chen Xingyu didn't make any special requests. He just wanted to fight Lei Jie in an ordinary battlefield, which showed his extraordinary bearing and confidence. Lei Jie didn't stand on ceremony. He put his palms together, and green lightning emerged from his body. They turned into an overwhelming lightning snake that fell toward Chen Xingyu's head. Two streams of air, one black and one white, rushed out from Chen Xingyu's body. They intertwined and turned into a whirlpool that spun continuously, producing a great suction force that sucked in the green lightning. Lei Jie raised his eyebrows and changed his hand seals. The green lightning that was sucked in by the black and white whirlpool quickly gathered. Instead of being disintegrated by the whirlpool, it turned into a huge ball of lightning. The ball of lightning didn't crackle with electricity. Instead, it was like a ball of green gas that kept vibrating. The next moment, the green ball of lightning exploded and shattered the black and white whirlpool. Inside the All-Heaven Hall, Dao Master Lei Yun's expression was calm. He nodded. The chaotic whole, immortal slaying thunder. It is indeed the great chaotic interior, true thunder scripture of the Grand Emperor's bloodline. It was said that when the Grand Emperor ruled the divine land, he was so majestic that even Essence Soul Almighties had to come and pay homage. Anyone who disobeyed would be killed with green lightning. Lin Feng smiled. When he first saw the Grand Emperor Palace in the Cloudy Forest world, the Grand Emperor Palace had released the chaotic whole, immortal slaying thunder to face its enemies. Lei Jie's cultivation was only in the Golden Elixir period, so he naturally couldn't compare to the Grand Emperor Palace's power. However, the thunder technique he cultivated was indeed from the Grand Emperor's lineage. The chaotic whole, immortal slaying thunder had just revealed its extraordinary power. Even when facing the Taishu Temple's lineage, Chen Xingyu, it didn't seem to be at a disadvantage. Chen Xingyu looked at the chaotic whole, immortal slaying thunder and smiled. He pointed with his index finger, and black and white auras appeared one after another, turning into black and white whirlpools. Lei Jie also released one green mass after another, which collided with the black and white whirlpools. Chen Xingyu suddenly waved his hand, and the black and white whirlpools in front of him shattered abruptly, merging into two majestic air currents that were like two raging dragons. They shattered Lei Jie's chaotic whole, immortal slaying thunder one by one, and then blasted toward Lei Jie himself. Lei Jie's body was covered in green lightning, as if a thunder god had descended to the world. Bolts of lightning were released, turning his surroundings into a lightning hell, blocking the black and white auras outside. Both of them were in the Golden Elixir period, so in a one-on-one battle, the Greater Law Hall wouldn't suppress their realms, allowing both of them to unleash their full strength. Their strength also dazzled the other cultivators in the Greater Law Hall. Both of them were only testing their strength, but they had already displayed impressive strength. Even the Yuanian cultivators had to treat them seriously. As the battle reached its climax, Lei Jie let out a thunderous roar, and his entire body shone brightly. 9 majestic air currents continuously revolved around his body, and his aura rose. The 9 air currents wrapped in rolling lightning intertwined in midair, condensing and manifesting, gradually condensing into a huge human figure, as if a thunder god had descended to the world. This human figure wasn't an illusion, but a true manifestation of magic power, condensed into a solid body, somewhat similar to the heaven and earth aspect condensed by late Yuanian cultivators. Seeing this scene, even the nascent divinity experts in the All-Heaven Great Hall were slightly moved. Emperor Qin Shiryu nodded. The nine-chi true thunder body is indeed extraordinary. Late Yuanian cultivators had a huge leap in strength compared to middle Yuanian cultivators, and the key was that the heaven and earth aspect condensed the essence of the Tao. Right now, Lei Jie was only in the Golden Elixir period, but he already had such a technique. Although it was still different from the heaven and earth aspect, it was undoubtedly a qualitative change in his combat strength. In the battle, Chun Xingyu's expression did not change, and the yin and yang qi around him formed an unprecedented huge vortex. More and more yin and yang magic power merged into it, and gradually, the world seemed to be separated, turning into two parts, one above and one below, sandwiching Lei Jie and the huge human figure that he had manifested in the middle. The two discs rotated in the opposite direction, like a huge millstone, wanting to grind everything in the middle into powder. With yin and yang as the pushing force, and with the world as the millstone, it crushed everything. Taishu Temple's void yin-yang Tao's top magic power. Yin-yang grind, heaven and earth grind. Those who recognized this Dharma spell immediately could not sit still. This Dharma spell was far more powerful than ordinary magic powers, and should not have appeared in the Golden Elixir period. 3 years ago in West Hill City, the Taishu Temple's direct disciple by Shiqian had used this move, and it had shocked everyone. Unfortunately, in the end, she was still defeated by Xianmin Tianzong Yuhangyan. However, that was not because the yin-yang grind, heaven and earth grind was weak, but because Bai Shiqian's combat talent was much weaker than Yu Hongyan's. Even Xianmin Tianzong and the others would not underestimate this powerful Dharma spell. They're both in the Golden Elixir period. This Chun Xingyu's Dharma spell is much stronger than Bai Shiqian's. As the person with the most right to speak, Yu Hongyan stared at Chun Xingyu for a moment, then said slowly, "When Bai Shiqian uses this Dharma spell, it's like a child playing with 1,000 caddy sledgehammer. But when he uses it, he has already grasped the essence of it. It's as if he can control it with ease." Beside her, Xiaoyan, Zhu Yi, and the others nodded. Xiaoyan smiled. The other sects have indeed sent out their best disciples for this year's Dharma assembly. Although Lei Jie had also sensed Chun Xingyu's strength, his fighting spirit did not diminish. The giant lightning god above his head let out a deafening roar as it faced the yin-yang grind. Heaven and earth grind head-on. For a moment, both sides were locked in a stalemate. The spectators sighed in admiration that Lei Jie was also extraordinary. He was fighting against the direct disciple of the Taishu Temple and was not at a disadvantage at all. But at this moment, Lei Jie's gaze suddenly trembled. A look of anger flashed across his usually calm and proud face. "No, impossible. I'm the one who succeeded." Chapter 693. Lei Jie took a deep breath as if he had made some sort of decision. The statue of the giant lightning god above his head suddenly disintegrated. No one had expected this. The smile on Lei Lai's face disappeared, and the light in his eyes intensified as he stared at Lei Jie. Chun Xingyu, who was fighting Lei Jie, did not take advantage of the situation to kill him. Instead, he retracted his yin-yang crushing whirl grinder and looked calmly at Lei Jie. Lei Jie's expression had completely returned to its cold and calm state. He said lightly, "I forfeit this round." Great Law Hall was in an uproar, and the Lei family disciples were even more shocked. They did not understand why Lei Jie would suddenly forfeit. Many of the Yuanian ancestors of the Lei family also looked at Lei Jie in astonishment. They knew very well that Lei Jie, who possessed the 9-chi true thunder body, was still holding back even now. Of course, Chun Xingyu's strength might not be at its limit, but the two sides were still evenly matched. If the fight continued, Lei Jie still had a chance. Not to mention his final ranking in Xianmin Tianzong's assembly. Just defeating a core disciple of Taishu Temple would be enough to make Lei Jie's name spread far and wide. He would thoroughly secure the title of a young heaven's chosen and become one of the best of the younger generation in the divine land. Lei Lai, the patriarch, knew that deep in his heart, his proud descendant had always been unconvinced that the dual-pupiled Shi Tianyi had suppressed him. After Shi Tianyi had been defeated by Shi Tianhao, Lei Jie's goal had naturally shifted to Shi Tianhao. Lei Jie was participating in the Dharma assembly, this time to aim for the last place. Based on Lei Lai's understanding of him, Lei Jie would not purposely seek defeat in order to gain the chance to challenge Shi Tianhao. That kind of fight, which was obviously a senior giving pointers to a junior, was not something the proud Lei Jie would accept. He wanted to first subdue the second-generation disciples of Xianmin Tianzong and then challenge Shi Tianhao openly. Therefore, even if he were to forfeit his battle with Chen Xingyu, he would never use his right to challenge Shi Tianhao or Shi Tianhao's fellow disciples. It was because of his deep understanding of Lei Jie that Lei Lai was especially shocked. He didn't know why Lei Jie would suddenly forfeit. Lei Jie's face was as calm as still water. He was well aware of his family's restlessness. If he gave up, it would be meaningless for him to participate in the spell assembly. Most people would only think that he was afraid to fight. He did not have the confidence or even the courage to fight against Chen Xingyu of the Taishu Temple. Not only would it not increase his reputation, but it would also damage Lei Jie's previous reputation. Lei Jie was well aware of the consequences, but after a brief moment of consideration, he finally decided to forfeit. Stopping or even retreating now is for the sake of moving forward. Lei Jie did his best to calm himself down. This time, we must completely solve this problem. I'm a success. In the central hall of Cloud Peak, a group of foundation disciples of Xianmin Tianzong sat together to watch the process of the spell assembly. When someone saw Lei Jie forfeit, he couldn't help but purse his lips. What's going on? He clearly doesn't look like he's going to lose. Maybe he knows in his heart that he's not a match for him, so he doesn't want to lose too badly. What do you think, Tang Jun? Suddenly, someone asked a young man beside him. You're at the foundation establishment stage, so your cultivation is higher than ours. You should be able to see more, right? The young man called Tang Jun's eyes were like lightning as he stared closely at Lei Jie in the illusion of light and shadow. He said lightly, I don't know either. The person beside him muttered softly, but you really look like him. If it wasn't for the fact that one of you has the surname Lei and the other has the surname Tang, I would have thought you were brothers. Tang Jun's hand suddenly clenched into a fist, then slowly loosened. He laughed, but didn't say anything. Within the All Heavens Hall, the head of the Lei family, Lei Lai, seemed to have calmed down, smiling towards Lin Daohan and Yin Mingwei. Your sect's great disciples are dragons among dragons. My grandson has shown his incompetence. The Marquis of Xuanji Zhuhongwu, who had been very quiet since the beginning of the spell assembly, suddenly sent him a sound transmission. Now, it looks like your grandson won't do. We still have to see what the situation is like with the other one. Lei Lai's gaze moved, replying as if nothing had happened. Marquis of Xuanji, don't be impatient. I'll ask Lei Jie later, and we'll know the exact situation. The primordial spirit big shots of the other powers all congratulated Lin Daohan. Fellow Lin has a successor. Congratulations. Lin Feng also looked at him and said with a smile, a great teacher produces a great disciple. The ancients did not deceive me. I can't compare to the master of the Xian Gate and his great disciple. Lin Daohan bowed slightly, his tone calm. My disciple still has many areas that he needs to train in. After entering your sect's Xian Tian realm, if he offends you in any way, please forgive him. Chen Xingyu has already entered the top 4. At the very least, he can obtain the right to freely enter and exit the Xian Tian realm. Of course, this freedom of entry and exit must be established under conscious conditions. If he enters and loots all kinds of rare treasures or excavates some precious mineral vein in one go, then Xianmin Tianzong will definitely not allow him to enter and not leave. Lin Feng smiled. Perhaps in the end will be a chance for your disciple to obtain the primordial starlight baptism. Yin Mingwei smiled slightly. Sect leader Lin is too polite. No matter what, I have to thank sect leader Lin for taking out such a generous reward. The power of the stars is so powerful that even a primordial spirit powerhouse can't easily control it. Even if there's a way to guide the starlight, it is extremely violent and can easily kill people. The Dharma spells of the Taishu Temple, the divine light of the gathering stars and the 9 heavens of Taishu scripture, is a similar Dharma spell. The more powerful Dharma spells like the 9 glory sky-shattering formation are even more destructive. It is very difficult to guide the starlight to temper one's body. Since ancient times, only the demon powerhouses who have cultivated to the primordial true spirit realm can naturally guide the power of the stars to cultivate with the secret method of the demon race. It is extremely difficult for human cultivators. Only the desolate ancient star sea that is controlled by the demon race at the moment is endless and mysterious, guiding the endless starlight like a zone where human cultivators can also guide the starlight to temper their body. Lin Feng has control of the foreign dimension that is a projection of the desolate ancient star sea, so he can draw a small amount of primordial starlight to temper the body and soul of his disciples. However, the foreign dimension is only a projection of the desolate ancient star sea. It is created by Xia Huang's magical treasure of creation, Ding of Shenzhou. It is not a real realm passage that leads to the desolate ancient star sea, so the starlight that can be guided is still limited. At the same time, although the baptism of the primordial starlight is much gentler, there is still a certain requirement for the person who can bear the power of the stars. Only those who are outstanding can bear the power of the stars and go to the next level. Even under Xianmin Tianzong, only a portion of people can bear it. Even so, the starlight is very limited. Since Lin Feng is willing to take out this thing as a reward for the spell gathering, even people like Lin Daoan and Yin Mingwei from the Taishu Temple and Emperor Qin Shiyu from the Great Qin Dynasty expressed their approval. The thunderous swordsman sighed. Speaking of which, none of the 7 seas of heaven origin is completely controlled by us human cultivators. As soon as he said this, the big shots immediately nodded in agreement. The so-called 7 seas of heaven origin are the star sea, the empty sea, the nether sea, the mysterious sea, the Ing sea, the spirit sea, and the dead sea. They are all outside of the great heaven origin world, but they are different from the medium-class worlds. They are giant foreign dimensions that are even bigger than medium-class worlds. The star sea is the desolate ancient star sea. In the immemorial age, it was the paradise of the demon race. In the ancient age, it was occupied by the human race and became the residence of the human sovereign. In the last years of the ancient age, it was retaken by the demon race. Until now, it is still controlled by the demon race. The empty sea is actually the void battlefield. It is filled with space turbulence and void storms. The human race and the demon race often enter it to search for treasures. No one can say that it is controlled by the demon race. The Nether Sea is the Netherworld Underground Sea. According to folklore, it is the location of the Netherworld Underground Sea. It is filled with all kinds of ferocious disasters. The true water of the Netherworld and the true water of the Blood River, of the true water of the 6 great true water, the evil Hades, the mysterious heavenly tribulation flame, and the red lotus karmic fire of the 7 great true fires, and the 9 nether wind of the 4 great divine winds all originate from there. The Nether Sea is in a closed state. There is no complete realm passage connecting it to the divine land or infinite wilderness land. There are only occasional cracks, but they are fleeting, appearing, and healing quickly. The true water of the Netherworld, the true water of the Blood River, the evil Hades, and other disasters leak out from the cracks at this time, poisoning the world. The Dark Sea is only connected to infinite wilderness land. It is not in contact with the divine land at all. It is now the habitat of the dragon race. The Ing Sea is connected to the divine land. It is located in the depths of the sea in the east of the Great Zhou Dynasty. It is also known as the Phantom Sea. There are many strange phenomena and mysterious things there. There are many illusions. Compared to the void battlefield, it is not as violent, but more mysterious and unpredictable. It is also a place of great danger. There are many primordial spirit cultivators who are trapped there and cannot come out again, let alone those below the primordial spirit stage. Many powerful beings in the Divine Land have tried to explore the Ing Sea. However, like the Void battlefield, they have some gains, but they are far from completely controlling it. Logically speaking, just like how the Mystic Ocean was to Tianhuang mainland and the Ing Ocean was to the Divine Continent, the cultivation world of the human race should be considered their own backyard. However, the awkward thing was that there was a realm passageway on the eastern sea of the Divine Continent that was connected to the Tianhuang mainland. Thus, the demon race did not need to spend too much effort to go to the Ing Ocean. For the passage to the Ing Sea, the two races have often fought. The Great Zhou dynasty has many cultivators stationed at the sea to guard the realm passage to infinite wilderness land to prevent the demon race from entering. The Spirit Sea and Dead Sea are relatively mysterious, and they are even harder to find than the Netherworld Sea. Celestial Sword Sovereign suddenly said, "Speaking of which, it seems that it is almost time for the Ing Sea's 3 mountains to appear. It is said that by controlling the 3 mountains, one can truly control the entire Ing Sea. I wonder if this is true?" Hearing this, both Emperor Qin Shiyu and Great Zhou's Marquis Xuanji, Zhu Hongwu, frowned. Songhai Sword Sex, Sword Sovereign Emerald Wave was expressionless and looked towards Celestial Sword Sovereign. Celestial Sword Sovereign only smiled slightly and did not say anything. Yin Mingwei had a faint smile on her face, while Lin Daohan sighed softly. Lin Feng looked at this scene with interest and laughed in his heart. Ing Sea's 3 mountains, interesting. Chapter 694. Lin Feng had some understanding of the legends of the 3 mountains of Ing Ocean. As long as it wasn't a special secret, he would be able to obtain it through the system. The 3 mountains of Ing Ocean were Penglai, Ingzhou, and Fangzhou. Legend had it that they were the 3 immortal mountains, or 3 immortal islands that floated above Ing Ocean. The illusory realms of the 3 immortal mountains had always been hidden in the depths of Ing Ocean, appearing and disappearing from time to time. In ancient times, there was once an almighty who mistakenly entered the immortal mountain and escaped. However, he died not long after he left the Ing Sea. Before he died, he left a key message saying that whoever could control the 3 mountains of the Ing Sea would be able to truly control the Ing Sea. After hearing that, the Grand Emperor, who was the human emperor at that time, immediately entered Ing Ocean. After a long time, he returned from Ing Ocean. Although he didn't gain anything, he confirmed that the rumor was true. Not only did the Grand Emperor confirm the rumor, but he also broke the many dermic power restrictions of the 3 immortal mountains. As a result, the 3 immortal mountains that were originally unpredictable would appear after a fixed period of time. However, their locations would still change randomly. As far as Lin Feng knew, the next appearance of the 3 mountains should be in the next 1 to 2 years. In a sense, it was all thanks to the Grand Emperor that the future generations had a clear hope of obtaining the 3 mountains of Ing Ocean. Although the future generations had yet to appear, people's understanding of Ing Ocean and the 3 mountains had increased since ancient times. The chances of truly controlling the immortal mountains were getting higher and higher. Of course, there were still great difficulties and risks. In the past, the Grand Emperor's cultivation level had fallen into a low after returning from Ing Ocean. As a result, he died in the following war between the 2 worlds. After the Grand Emperor, all the almighty experts who had substantial contact with the 3 mountains of Ing Ocean had suffered heavy losses, and many of them had died. With the efforts of the generations, the veil that shrouded the 3 immortal mountains was peeled off layer by layer. In the recent 1,000 years, the fog that covered the truth was finally about to dissipate. Without a doubt, the powerful force that was closest to the Yinghai Ocean was the Great Zhou Empire. Just like the Empty Ocean, Star Sea, and Dark Sea, even though there were numerous dangers in the Hawk Ocean, it was an enormous treasury that was practically boundless, and it was filled with various treasures that were rare or even unique in other places of the Heaven Primal World. It attracted batch after batch of cultivators to fight to enter the Hawk Ocean to search for them, even if they had to risk their lives. If he could gain complete control of this place, he would no longer have to fear the dangers within it, and he would be able to take whatever he wanted from this boundless treasure vault. Then, the growth of his strength would undoubtedly be explosive. In the All-Heaven Grand Hall, although the group of S and Soul powerhouses did not speak, a large number of spiritual will and dermic powers were communicating. The matter regarding the three mountains of Yangtze was not a secret. Most of the people present basically knew about it and knew that the three mountains were about to appear again. However, everyone restrained themselves. After all, there were many risks in the Yangtze. Even S and Soul experts were not safe in there. But at this moment, in the All-Heaven Grand Hall on Yujing Mountain, everyone was calculating whether Lin Feng and Xianmin Tianzong would also join in. If Xianmin Tianzong joined in, how big of an impact would it be? The last time the three mountains of Yangtze appeared, Xianmin Tianzong still did not exist, and no one in the world knew of Lin Feng's existence. But now, with the influence of Lin Feng and Xianmin Tianzong, all of this had to be taken into consideration. Sword Venerable Emerald Wave and Lei family head Lei Lai expressionlessly watched this scene. On the contrary, the number 2 person of the Great Zhou dynasty, the Marquis of Xuanji, Zhu Hongwu, was very relaxed. His expression did not change as he calmly sat on the chair. After glancing at Sword Venerable Celestial, his gaze landed on Lin Feng and Lin Daoan. Sword Venerable Celestial exposing the three mountains of Yangtze undoubtedly had the intention of instigating internal strife among the united front of Xianmin Tianzong, Great Zhou, and Great Qin. Lin Feng still had a faint smile on his face. He was calm and composed without any change. After the initial sigh, Lin Daohan's expression was also as calm as before. Zhu Hongwu looked at them and nodded his head with an unknown meaning. Then he retracted his gaze and was still as calm as Mount Tai, as if nothing had happened. Lin Feng sat on the main seat and smiled in his heart. Interesting. I wonder how Penglai, Yingzhou, and Fangzhong Mountain compare to my Yujing Mountain? In the All-Heaven Grand Hall, the group of S and Soul experts were thinking about the three mountains of Yangtze. Meanwhile, the spell-gathering competition in the Spreading Law Hall was still in full swing. After the match between Chun Xingyu and Lei Jie, the two sides of the battle became the second stage's second place, Dao Yuding, and the seventh place Chu Yang. No matter if it was Dao Yuding herself or her master Wang Lin, they were both pragmatists. They believed that the ultimate goal of a fight was to defeat or even kill the enemy. So if they had an advantage, they had to use it. She directly chose a world of ice and snow as the location for the competition. Cultivating with Wang Lin. During the process of cultivation, not only did Dao Yuding cultivate the spells and spells of Xianmin Tianzong, she also fused the original spells and spells of Heavenly Lake Sect together, reaching a higher level. Actually, you really don't have to do this. Just choose a location that's good for me to perform, and the result won't change, although you don't know which location is suitable for me to perform. Chu Yang secretly curled his lips and used the spells of Beyond Sky Mountain to fight Dao Yuding. Although he had made up his mind to hide his strength, he did not perform too badly. He displayed many of his unique understanding of spells and spells, which made the spectators from Beyond Sky Mountain and the cultivators from other forces secretly nod their heads. However, as Chu Yang said, no matter how the process was, the result would not change. Putting aside the fact that his opponent was Dao Yuding, who was an outstanding second-generation successor disciple of Xianmin Tianzong, as long as his opponent was a normal cultivator and not a pig, Chu Yang would still be able to lose to her. It was just that the method of losing was different. As long as one had the heart to win, one could lose no matter what. The solution was always more difficult than the solution. Facing an expert was one way of losing, and facing a rookie was another way of losing. Therefore, although Chu Yang was defeated in the end, the spectators did not look down on him too much. After all, even though he had made it to the top 8, many people still thought that he was the weakest of the top 8, and he was labeled as a one-round loser. Now that he had displayed a certain level of strength and regrettably lost, many people who had lower expectations of him acknowledged his performance. Although he was not a dark horse to the very end, at least he was of a good quality. Before this, many of the younger cultivators were rather dissatisfied with Chu Yang. They thought that he had only made it this far by relying on luck and petty tricks. In the first stage of the Tower Challenge, his teammates were all quite strong. As long as he ensured that he did not drag them down, he could easily pass the first stage of the assessment. In the second stage, Chu Yang stood out. However, the fact that he managed to gather 9 golden rings in one go still made many people feel that his luck was off the charts. There were some more subtle psychological games that not everyone could see. In particular, many of the young cultivators from the Scarlet Cloud sect disliked Chu Yang no matter how they looked at him. The Scarlet Cloud sect and Beyond Heaven Mountain were both well-known mid-sized forces in the southern foothills of the Kunlun Mountains. After the destruction of the Wind God sect, the Scarlet Cloud sect immediately approached Xianmen Tianzong. Xianmen Tianzong did not mistreat the Scarlet Cloud sect either. Among the first batch of external forces to enter the Xianmen realm, other than the large forces like the Great Qin, the Thunderbolt Sword Sect, the Celeritas Sword Sect, and the Purple Cloud Path, the Scarlet Cloud Sect was one of the few mid-sized forces that took precedence over Beyond Heaven Mountain. In recent years, Beyond Heaven Mountain had gradually separated from Shushan and approached Xianmen Tianzong. The Scarlet Cloud Sect was undoubtedly the most hostile towards them. Both parties were not on good terms in the first place. Now that Beyond Heaven Mountain had come to snatch their number 1 follower position, the Scarlet Cloud sect was naturally unhappy. The Scarlet Cloud sect thought that they had the merit of helping them rise to the top. Originally, they had the attitude of looking down on their old rival. After considering the cultivation and talent of their own successor, the Scarlet Cloud sect, who felt that it was better to hide their incompetence than to show their incompetence, did not send their disciples to participate in the Dharma assembly. They even secretly mocked Beyond Heaven Mountain for sending Chu Yang. In the end, Chu Yang had actually made it to the top 8. Instantly, the young cultivators of the Scarlet Cloud sect looked at their master and grandmaster with resentment. Even the trash from Beyond Heaven Mountain could make it to the top 8, but they could only squat here and watch like quails. This made them feel as if their hearts were being scratched by cats. It was only until the battle with Dao Yuding in the 3rd stage. Although Chu Yang had been defeated, he had more or less shown that he was the real deal. Only then did some of the people feel a little better. Therefore, the cultivators of the Scarlet Cloud sect began to feel conflicted again. Beyond Heaven Mountain had made it to the point that Xianmen Tianzong would not abandon the old for the new, but there was no doubt that Beyond Heaven Mountain would be in a brand new situation. This made the Scarlet Cloud sect, who had gotten used to looking down on their old neighbor, feel a little annoyed. Next, let's wait for the challenge. Chu Yang left the competition venue and returned to his private room in Beyond Heaven Mountain. He let out a long sigh. Qinggu, you definitely don't recognize me. Dao Yuding's advancement to the top 4 was basically within everyone's expectations. To most people, this was the battle with the least suspense among the top 8 battles. If Dao Yuding was defeated, it would be the biggest upset in the Dharma assembly so far. The next battle was undoubtedly the battle with the most suspense among the top 8 battles. Although the battle between the two was the one with the greatest difference in ranking among those who had advanced in the 2nd stage of the assessment, Su Yunsheng, who was in 1st place in the 2nd stage, was up against Ing Rosa, who was in 8th place. Both of them had left the mountain to travel before and had made a name for themselves. Before this Dharma assembly, they were the most well-known among the 2nd-generation true disciples of Xianmen Tianzong. And within Xianmen Tianzong, Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa's reputation was even more resounding. Apart from Dao Yuding, who was in the late stage of foundation building as soon as she entered the sect and had to be counted separately due to special circumstances, Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa could be said to be outstanding for a time. The two of them were the first batch of foundation building disciples to enter the sect and also the first batch of true disciples to enter the sect. From the day they entered the sect, the two of them jointly took the first and second place in all the assessments. They chased each other and were evenly matched. Overall, Su Yunsheng was slightly ahead of Ing Rosa by a small margin. When the two of them were present, the others could only fight for the third place. Apart from Huang Jinting and Lin Tong, the two little friends, whose momentum was getting fiercer and fiercer these days, no one could shake their position. Even little Huang and little Lin Tong were still very immature. If they wanted to truly attack the top two, they still needed some time. Only the sudden emergence of Zhou Yunsong in this Dharma assembly changed the situation a little. But in the hearts of many Xianmen Tianzong disciples, due to the inherent impression, Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa were the strongest among the second-generation foundation-building disciples. The battle between the two of them had extraordinary significance. Regardless of what the previous results were, in this Dharma assembly competition held in front of the One Heaven Tao, whoever lost would not be able to raise their heads for a very long time. Chapter 695. In the private room, after watching the battle between Zhou Yunsong and Lin Tong, Iloza, who had been silent all this time, suddenly stood up and looked at Su Yunsheng. His gaze wasn't as sharp and fiery as before, but it was still as arrogant as before. I've heard a saying before, but I never took it to heart, but now I feel that it makes some sense. Iloza said calmly, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and we have to take it one step at a time. No matter what level Zhou Yunsong is at, I have to fight you first. If you're stronger than Zhou Yunsong, then there's no need to talk about anything else. If Zhou Yunsong is stronger than you, then I have to surpass you first before I can challenge him." Su Yunsheng stood up and looked at Iloza with a complicated expression. He didn't respond to Iloza's words and simply nodded his head. "Let's go." After saying that, he walked out of the quiet room and headed for the arena. Iloza frowned slightly and followed him out of the quiet room. When Su Yunsheng and Iloza entered the arena, and Su Yunsheng began to designate the environment of the arena, the Xianmen Tianzong cultivators in the spreading law hall all became spirited. In the past, the two of them had fought many times. Not only did the disciples of the Qian Tian Hall pay attention, but the disciples of the other caves would also come to watch. Inside the All Heavens Hall, Lin Feng sat on the main seat and leisurely smiled. The outcome of this battle was already within his expectations, and there was no suspense. Su Yunsheng would definitely lose. As the saying goes, as long as you have the heart to lose, as long as your opponent isn't a pig, you'll get what you want. However, Lin Feng believed that the process would be a very exciting battle between a dragon and a tiger, and the final result would be the same as the previous battles between the two of them. The difference between victory and defeat would only be a hair's breadth. Reality proved Lin Feng's expectations. The process of the battle was even more intense and bloody than the previous battles between the two of them. In the end, Ing Rosa paid a heavy price to defeat Su Yunsheng by a single move, successfully advancing to the next round. Because Su Yunsheng's fatal attack had been neutralized by the spreading law hall's magical power restriction, the two of them eventually came out of the arena. On the other hand, Irosa's injuries were even more serious. It was so serious that if the sect didn't treat him, let alone participate in the next round of the competition, he might even die from his injuries after a period of time. The actual outcome of this tragic battle was almost equal to both sides suffering heavy losses and perishing together. The group of young cultivators in the Great Law Hall were mesmerized. Even a few Yuaning ancestors repeatedly nodded their heads as they watched the battle between the two Foundation establishment disciples. The battle between Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa had not only displayed their outstanding magic power, it had also been a battle of wills and temperaments. When the young cultivators of the major forces saw this battle, they all asked themselves, what would the result be if they were on the other side? Most of them shook their heads and their hearts. Some of the cultivators who had participated in the spell assembly but were eliminated were originally unconvinced, such as Fan Xiefeng, Shi Jingyun, Shi Shaoqian, Kong Hai, and the others. They felt that the first and second stages of the test were too coincidental. But now that they saw the battle between Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa, they had to admit that even if they entered the top 8, they would still be defeated if they met either one of them. While the disciples of Xianmen Tianzong exclaimed in admiration, they all secretly felt that it was a pity. What a pity! It would be great if senior brother Su and senior brother Ing Rosa didn't meet each other. Both of them had the strength to enter the top 4, but now senior brother Su can only regretfully stop in the top 8. Su Yunqing himself was very calm. In the all-heaven great hall, Lin Feng looked at Zhu Yi and smiled. Zhu Yi nodded, stood up and said, "I'll go down to take a look at my disciple. I'll be taking my leave for a while. Seniors, please forgive me." With that, his figure disappeared from the hall. As Ing Rosa's master, it was only right for Zhu Yi to show some concern for him. It was just like how Wang Lin had gone to investigate when Li Xingfei had been heavily injured. At this moment, Ing Rosa was unconscious and was sent out by Shi Tianhao. Su Yunsheng, who had been sent out by the Great Law Hall's magic power restriction, was waiting outside. Shi Tianhao glanced at him and said with a smile, "Send him to a separate, quiet room. Second senior brother will come and treat your injuries." "Yes, little martial uncle." Su Yunsheng nodded, used his magic power to wrap up Ing Rosa, turned around, and left. Although he was defeated, stopped in the top 8, and even lost to his old enemy, Su Yunqing's mental state was much better, as if he had removed the shackles that had been shackling him for a long time. He came to the quiet room and saw a purple-clothed scholar sitting inside, calmly looking at him. Zhu Yi took Ing Rosa and first treated his injuries, not in a hurry to speak to Su Yunsheng. Su Yunsheng also stood there calmly, silently waiting. For a moment, Su Yunqing's thoughts drifted, and his life's experiences flashed through his mind. On the surface, his identity was that of a great Qin official's family, and he didn't seem to have any relationship with the Great Zhou dynasty, and there was even hatred between them. But in reality, his position in the Su family was very awkward. To be precise, Su Yunqing's surname wasn't Su, and he didn't even know what his surname was. Many years ago, during a conflict between the Great Zhou and the Great Qin, his mother was kidnapped by the Great Zhou people, and after 10 months of pregnancy, she gave birth to him and his twin sister. To his mother, the siblings were a disgrace. Once his mother escaped, the siblings were abandoned, and the 2 children depended on each other. Later, they became disciples of someone, and they were chosen by the Great Zhou dynasty's spy agency. It just so happened that after his mother returned to the Su family, she did not have any children, and her husband, the Su family leader, also had no children. Under the pressure of the family elders, he sent people to the Great Zhou dynasty to search for the siblings, lying that she had been pregnant before she was kidnapped. Just like that, Su Yunsheng returned to the Su family. At the beginning, he did not reveal his cultivation talent. In reality, he was just a chess piece that the Great Zhou dynasty spy agency had set up in the Great Qin dynasty. The Su family had their suspicions, so although Su Yunsheng was the legitimate son of the family leader, he was actually treading on thin ice. After he revealed his cultivation talent, he was sent by the Great Zhou dynasty to go to the Sand State City to become a disciple of Xianmen Tianzong. Thinking about that, an extremely complicated expression appeared on Su Yunqing's face. To him, the following days were the happiest, most relaxed, and carefree time of his life. A relaxed atmosphere, friendly fellow sect members, a brilliant master, a powerful sect, everything was so perfect. But the more it was like this, the more fear grew in the depths of Su Yunqing's heart. It was as if there was a voice constantly telling him, "All of this does not belong to you." The fear became stronger and stronger, as if an extremely heavy shackle was placed on his body, making him feel suffocated. This intense fear made Su Yunsheng not dare to imagine what would await him if his identity was exposed one day. Su Yunsheng was not afraid of death, but his master Zhu Yi's disappointed sigh, the disdainful and surprised gazes of his fellow sect members, being expelled from Xianmen Tianzong, leaving the environment that made him feel like a perfect home, All of this made Su Yunsheng unable to breathe. When the sect opened for the second time, the appearance of the heart-reflecting staircase caused Su Yunsheng's fear to soar to the peak. Although disciples like them who opened the sect for the first time did not need to walk the heart-reflecting staircase to take the test, Su Yunsheng did not doubt that Patriarch Lin Feng had the ability to see through him. Afterwards, in order to avoid having a guilty conscience, he, Lu Xiaofeng, Li Xingfei, and the others went through the test of the 7 emotions and 6 desires in the Purple Chi Pagoda. Su Yunsheng was even more anxious. He faintly felt that he had been exposed. But Lin Feng, Zhu Yi, and the others did not say anything. Afterwards, their attitude towards him did not change at all. Their cultivation, their daily interactions, their arrangements to go out for training, everything was the same as usual. They treated him the same as they treated Rosa and the others. This made Su Yunsheng slightly surprised, but he also constantly numbed himself. Perhaps I haven't been exposed. In fact, he knew better than anyone that the truth might be completely opposite, but he was still willing to be like an ostrich burying its head in the desert, deceiving himself, just so that he could live a few more days like this. And also for his sister, his only family, the only person he truly cared about before he entered Xianmen Tianzong, other than his mother. Even the Su family did not know of his sister's existence. When his mother asked about his sister, Su Yunsheng's answer was that she was already dead. Only Su Yunsheng himself knew that his sister had always been in the great Zhou Empire's control. If I explain everything to the sect should have the ability to help me save my sister. But will the sect do this? For a spy with ulterior motives like me? All kinds of worries, fears, and contradictions kept fermenting in Su Yunsheng's heart, causing this usually smart and calm young man to completely lose his composure. He muddling along. Sometimes he even hypnotized himself. I am Xianmen Tianzong's disciple, Su Yunsheng, not a disciple of the great Qin Empire's Su family, not a spy of the great Zhou Empire, not that bastard who doesn't even know who his father is. Under Su Yunsheng's modest appearance, there was arrogance. And in the depths of this arrogance, there was extreme inferiority. This forced him to do his best and be number one no matter what situation he was in. He hoped that he could throw away all the burdens of the past and wholeheartedly become the most outstanding disciple of the sect. But every time he thought about his sister who was still in the hands of the great Zhou Empire, his beautiful dream would instantly turn into a nightmare, and then he would wake up from the nightmare. As a result, while breaking out in cold sweat, Su Yunsheng felt even more conflicted. He felt as if his brain had turned into paste, and as he worried about personal gains and losses, he also became stupid. For the past 3 years, Su Yunsheng had been tormented between a beautiful dream and a nightmare, until the Kunlun Mountain Dharma assembly this time, when the great Zhou Empire urged him more and more urgently, and he was getting closer and closer to the position of first-seat disciple. Su Yunsheng's mind gradually became clear, and he finally made up his mind. "Do you have anything you want to say to your master?" Zhu Yi's words brought Su Yunsheng back to his senses. He saw that he had already finished treating Rosa's injuries had stabilized, and he had fallen into a deep sleep to recuperate. Zhu Yi turned around and looked calmly at Su Yunsheng. His eyes were calm, as if everything was under his control. In the past few years, if Su Yunsheng had faced Zhu Yi's gaze, he might have been even more terrified and on the verge of a mental breakdown. But now, Su Yunsheng, who had already made up his mind, was extremely calm. Slowly, he knelt down and kowtowed to Zhu Yi. "This disciple has sinned, and I hereby report this to my master." Chapter 696. In the All Heavens Palace, after handing the matter over to Zhu Yi, Lin Feng did not pay much attention to it. On one hand, he believed that Zhu Yi could handle this matter properly. On the other hand, what choice Su Yunsheng would make was within Lin Feng's expectations. just like how he had predicted the outcome of the battle between Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa. As long as one had the heart to win, anything could be done. This was not limited to Chu Yang. Wanting to win might not necessarily be as one wished, but wanting to lose was too simple. The only problem was how one lost, and whether the spectators would be able to see it. The outcome of the battle between Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa had always been a fine line. It was actually very normal for either of them to win. Under these circumstances, there was no need for Su Yunsheng to go easy on Ing Rosa. As long as his desire to win was not as strong as before, his defeat was destined. Through the secret mark left on Su Yunsheng's body, Lin Feng knew that even when Su Yunsheng contacted the Great Zhou Empire, he had never leaked any information about Xianmen Tianzong. Of course, this was related to the fact that the Great Zhou Empire did not consult him. They had arranged for Su Yunsheng to come here for a greater purpose. They did not wish for Su Yunsheng to lose sight of the bigger picture and expose his identity. However, there was a very important matter, one that concerned his life, that Su Yunsheng did not report to the Great Zhou Empire. It was true that he hadn't taken the heart-reflecting staircase, but he had participated in the second true disciple exam with Liu Xiaofeng and the others. The 7 emotions and 6 desires transformation test in the Purple Chi Pagoda was even stricter than the heart-reflecting staircase. This lack of information caused the Great Zhou Empire to clearly misjudge the situation, making them very optimistic about keeping Su Yunsheng's situation and identity a secret. When a spy constantly expressed to his superiors that he had not been exposed, it would undoubtedly lead to a huge misunderstanding, especially when his superiors did not have any other effective channels to verify his identity. Lin Feng could not be sure if Su Yunsheng had deliberately concealed it, or if it was an unintentional and subconscious action. However, this did not prevent him from seeing through Su Yunsheng's current bias. Under these circumstances, the outcome of the battle between Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa could already be foreseen. Many people felt that it was a pity for Su Yunsheng, but some people didn't feel that it was as simple as pity. The quiet room where Great Zhou's crown Prince Liang Yuan was dead silent. No one made a sound. Everyone silently looked at the motionless Liang Yuan sitting on the chair. After a long time, the statue-like Liang Yuan let out a long sigh. It's all for naught. Liang Yuan lightly shook his head with a calm expression. A Yuanine cultivator behind him stepped forward and said, "This subject was incompetent and is willing to be punished by your highness. It's not your fault." Liang Yuan waved his hand. "If something happens to the people below, they can't blame you, Minister Xiao. After all, they're living people with their own thoughts and emotions. They're not clay figurines." The Yuanine cultivator, surnamed Xiao, said hatefully that northern militant barbarian only needed to take that little barbarian Xianmen Tianzong in a few more circles. In the end, he actually went to cause trouble for that little girl. Not only did he give himself a free hand, he also ruined your highness's plans. Liang Yuan said, "If it wasn't for the deep hatred between him and that little barbarian, we wouldn't have been able to order him to do things." This kind of double-edged sword always has its pros and cons. Su Yunsheng did not live up to expectations. Otherwise, if he had defeated that little barbarian in this round, even if he stopped at the top 4, he would still be the well-deserved number 1 in his group. He would very likely choose him to be the head disciple. Another Yuanine cultivator said in a low voice, "This person is useless and wasted all the effort and resources we poured into him. This time, we also exposed our other precious spies. The gains do not make up for the losses." In the second stage, among the cultivators who were defeated by Su Yunsheng and took the golden hoop, there were people secretly planted by the Great Zhou dynasty. The cultivators who dragged down Chen Xingyu's group in the first stage were also connected to the Great Zhou dynasty. Some of these people were sent by the Great Zhou dynasty to participate in this spell assembly. Some are like Zhuolei, rising stars from other powers. Those who could be brought to participate in the Kunlun Mountain Spell Assembly were existences that their sects focused on training. If the Great Zhou dynasty wanted to send people connected to them to these positions, It would take a lot of effort and resources. But now, all of them were in danger of being exposed. This time, Liang Yuan had spent a lot on Su Yunsheng, but now he might not gain anything. The cultivator surnamed Xiao shook his head. According to what we know, Su Yunsheng and that little barbarian have always been evenly matched. In the small competition 3 months ago, the winner was also decided by a hair's breadth, but the winner was Su Yunsheng. The Yuaning cultivator from before sneered. So what if he won that time? If he lost this time, no matter how much he won before, it would all be lost. The cultivator, surnamed Xiao, looked suspiciously at Crown Prince Liang Yuan. Your Highness, could it be that Su Yunsheng has already been exposed, but Xianmin Tianzong didn't say anything and secretly did something this time? Liang Yuan shook his head. I just asked the Grand Tutor. The Grand Tutor said that there were no abnormalities. To be able to hide from so many primordial soul powerhouses in the All-Heaven Great Hall, the master of Xianmin Tianzong must have done something. But with the master of Xianmin Tianzong's usual style, he wouldn't lower himself like this. The cultivator, surnamed Xiao, sighed. Then we can only blame Su Yunsheng for not getting along with that little barbarian as soon as he entered the sect. As a result, the other party kept a close eye on him and pestered him endlessly. Fortunately, with our help in the second stage, Su Yunsheng's performance was even more outstanding. In the third stage of the arena battle, the two sides won by a hair's breadth. The difference wasn't big. Liang Yuan said, when choosing a first-seat disciple, one will definitely consider how to deal with people and network. Su Yunsheng's performance was much better than that little barbarian, and it also suits Zhu Yi's temperament and thoughts. The result of this battle will at most reduce his chances of winning, but Su Yunsheng should still be in the lead in the competition. The key is to strengthen control over Su Yunsheng to prevent him from having other thoughts. The group of Yuanian cultivators all nodded and said, "We understand." In the quiet room, Zhu Yi sat on a chair and listened to Su Yunsheng calmly. Su Yunsheng told him about his background, his mission, and all the things he had done over the years. Su Yunsheng spoke in detail, to the point that it was a bit long-winded, but Zhu Yi didn't show any impatience. Silently, he listened. After explaining everything clearly, Su Yunsheng shut his mouth and knelt on the ground, waiting for the final judgment he would face. After listening, Zhu Yi calmly said, "Yunsheng, do you know what the biggest mistake you made was?" After a moment of silence, Su Yunsheng replied, "Disciples should have explained everything to the sect the moment I entered the sect. The sect will uphold justice for disciple and have full authority to handle it. Disciple only needs to listen to instructions and arrangements." As soon as he entered the sect, he clearly explained everything to Lin Feng and his disciple. With Xianmin Tianzong's consistent style, as long as the disciple was sincere, then it wasn't that Su Yunsheng was forced to be a spy because of his sister, but that the great Zhou dynasty had kidnapped the family of Xianmin Tianzong's disciple. Xianmin Tianzong definitely wouldn't sit idly by. But unfortunately, when Su Yunsheng had just entered the sect, Lin Feng and Xianmin Tianzong hadn't shown their extraordinary power, and they were far from the powerful forces that held a decisive position in the Divine Land. This made Su Yunsheng make a wrong judgment. He submitted to the power of the great Zhou dynasty and took the first wrong step. One wrong step led to many wrong steps. By the time Su Yunsheng understood the stakes, he had already missed the best opportunity. Thus, he could only suffer, and the fear in his heart increased day by day. Until now, he finally made up his mind. It wasn't to redeem anything, but he didn't want to continue wearing a mask. Slowly, Zhu Yi looked at him calmly and said, "Although you took the wrong path before, you have never done anything detrimental to the sect. Since you took the initiative to confess today, I won't kill you. After the Dharma assembly, I will also go to the great Zhou dynasty and bring your sister back. This will fulfill our fate as master and disciple." Su Yunsheng knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Zhu Yi. "Disciple, thanks, master," Zhu Yi said. "As for you, you will be punished according to the sect rules. Yunsheng, although you confessed everything today, you actually only grasped the last chance. You have missed far more than one chance. He looked at Su Yunxing calmly. Did you think you were exposed when you participated in the second direct disciple test 3 years ago and experienced the changes of 7 emotions and 6 desires? Our ancestor has great foresight and insight. From the moment you entered the sect, he saw through your background. When you, Ing Rosa, and the others participated in the first purple labyrinth test for true disciples, we already knew everything. From the moment you entered the sect, your every move and all your connections with the outside world were all under the sect's control. There were no exceptions. Su Yunsheng knelt on the ground, and cold sweat appeared on his back. He said in a hoarse voice, "I was foolish. I am guilty." The sect rules cannot be ignored. No matter what difficulties you have, or whether you have really harmed the sect, as long as you are a spy and have evil intentions, you will definitely be punished. Zhu stood up and looked down at Su Yunsheng. Since you have realized your mistakes, the sect will be lenient. You now have 2 choices. First, you will be expelled from the sect. From today onwards, you are no longer a disciple of Xianmen Tianzong. Your cultivation will be abolished, and all the artifacts, pills, and talismans you obtain from the sect will be taken back. However, the sect will guarantee that you will live a carefree life for the rest of your life. You will be able to choose a place to live in the Xianmen realm or Cloud Mirror City and enjoy the rest of your life. Second, I will not expel you. I will give you 10 years. If you can form the golden elixir within 10 years, your lifespan will be increased by 1,000 years. After that, you'll have to do hard labor for 100 years. All your cultivation will be sealed, and all your belongings will be confiscated. You will be forced to work in the mines of the Xianmen realm for 100 years like an ordinary person. During this period, your appearance will be concealed and your identity will be changed. You are not allowed to reveal any relevant information and are not allowed to come into contact with other people in the sect until the 100 years are up. After the time is up, you will still be my disciple. Slowly, Zhu Yi said, if you can't form the golden elixir within 10 years, your cultivation will also be sealed, and you will have to do hard labor for 100 years. This time, your lifespan will be limited, and it will be equivalent to serving a life sentence. No matter what choice you make, if you do anything to harm Xianmen Tianzong in the future, you will not be spared. Think carefully about where you will go. Chapter 697. Faced with the 2 options given by Zhu Yi, Su Yunsheng did not hesitate at all. He knelt on the ground and kowtowed heavily to Zhu Yi. There is no need for disciple to think about it. As long as there is a glimmer of hope to continue to be under master's tutelage, disciple will gladly endure any punishment. Su Yunsheng instantly understood what he would face if he chose the second option. The exploitation of the mother lodes in the mystic heavenly sector was generally the responsibility of cultivators, but there were also some ordinary people who were engaged in the trivial and arduous work as their assistants. It was certainly not as tiring and dangerous as mining in the mortal world, but it was certainly not an easy job either. Especially the metallic mineral veins, such as the dark light meteoric iron, which contained a thick metallic aura. Just the spiritual aura alone was as sharp as a sword. Cultivators with Qi refinement stage cultivation could ignore it, but mortals would feel uncomfortable. Therefore, this kind of work was truly hard labor. Generally, only sinners would be sent there to receive supervision after receiving punishment. While working hard, their freedom would also be restricted. On the ground of Xianmen Tianzong, there would not be a situation where cultivators bullied mortals, but it was inevitable that they would be ordered around. As the most outstanding true disciple of the Qian Tian Palace in Xianmen Tianzong, Su Yunqing's original position in the sect was naturally not low. When he went to the mystic heaven realm to train, except for Feng Biji and Zen Master Day regarding there, everyone had to treat him with respect when they saw him and even fawn on him. The external stewards in charge of mining resources also had to be careful in front of him, serve him, and provide him with high-quality minerals or elixirs. But choosing the second option meant that he had to conceal his identity and go to the subordinates who originally respected and fawned on him. From a true disciple with limitless glory to a convict, one could imagine how great the difference was. If it was a short period of time, it might not matter, but a full 100 years could not be considered short. For cultivators, they did not know the length of time in the mountains. Although 100 years was long, it would pass very quickly in the process of continuous cultivation. But for ordinary mortals, many people could not live for 100 years in their lifetime. More than 30,000 days and nights of hard labor sounded simple. But when this kind of life really started, how many people could endure it? For those who could endure, how long could they endure? This was under the condition that Su Yunsheng successfully advanced to the golden elixir period within 10 years. At the very least, he could look forward to the future. If he couldn't form his gold core within 10 years, it would mean that he would have to work hard until he grew old and died. Moreover, no one would know all of this. On the day of his death, he would only be a sinner serving hard labor. No one would know that he used to be an outstanding figure among the second generation of Xianmen Tianzong, who was recognized by his fellow disciples as the most promising candidate to become the first seat disciple of the Qian Tian Palace, Su Yunsheng. If he couldn't live a grand life, he could only die a silent death. If one chose the first path, their cultivation would be crippled and their freedom would be limited, but they would be able to live a prosperous and worry-free life for the rest of their lives. Su Yunsheng had thought of all of this immediately, but he still chose the second option without any hesitation, because at the end of that road was the life he dreamed of. All along, the dream that seemed illusory and unreal had the possibility of becoming reality. No matter how difficult the road was, Su Yunsheng would be determined to walk on it. In fact, someone as smart as him could faintly feel the warmth and care of his sect under the cruel road. 100 years of hard labor and a silent death. Although it was difficult, it was tantamount to preserving his reputation. As long as he could form the golden elixir period and peacefully reform through labor, after his sentence was completed, he only needed to explain that he had gone out to travel or secluded himself, and the reason for his disappearance could be explained. Perhaps wasting 100 years would cause his cultivation to fall far behind his peers. Not to mention Ing Rosa, even Sun Shuer, Yang Tai, and the others would far surpass him. But at that time, when he returned to Xianmen Tianzong, he would still be the Su Yunsheng in everyone's memories. After 100 years, he was no longer the #1 successor disciple of the Qiantian Palace. He was no longer a genius. However, he would be an upright disciple of the celestial sect of wonders. His fellow disciples would not know of his past. They would not look at him with colored glasses. Wasn't this what he dreamed of? Even if he had to pay 100 years of hardship, he would gladly endure it. If he couldn't form his golden core within 10 years, then he would have to work hard for the rest of his life. He could only blame himself and no one else. Su Yunsheng raised his head. His eyes were clear, and the arrogant eagle seemed to have returned to the sky. He firmly believed that he could form the golden elixir within 10 years. This was his confidence in himself, and it was also to live up to the expectations of his master, Zhu Yi. Zhu Yi calmly looked at Su Yunsheng. He could roughly feel Su Yunsheng's mental state and emotional fluctuations. There was not the slightest bit of resentment or unwillingness. Instead, he displayed a spirited attitude. This caused Zhu Yi to nod in secret, and he said in his heart, "Yunsheng, there are still many things that you haven't figured out. 100 years of hard labor is both a punishment and a form of tempering. If your will to fight isn't worn down by the hard labor and you're able to maintain your current state of mind, then you'll realize in the future that 100 years of time wasn't spent in vain." Fortune and misfortune came hand in hand. How much he could comprehend and how much he could gain depended on himself. Since you have made your choice, you should know that there is no turning back on the path you have chosen. Zhu Yi calmly nodded his head. In these 10 years, everything will be normal for you. The sect will not lack resources for you, nor will it be biased towards you. You have to grasp it yourself. Su Yunsheng replied, Disciple understands. Although Disciple wants to form his golden core within 10 years, I know that haste makes waste. If Disciple is greedy and relies on large amounts of pills, it will only ruin my future cultivation path. Everything as usual meant that other than daily resources and cultivation, Su Yunqing's freedom would not be restricted. In these 10 years, if he wanted to go out and travel, he could do whatever he wanted to do, and it would all be up to him. Zhu, he didn't need to say much. Su Yunsheng also understood that after everything was said today, if he continued to mix with the Great Zhou dynasty, he would have to bear the consequences. Su Yunsheng didn't make any promises or make any vows. Everything was in his heart, and he knew what was important. Master, if the Great Zhou dynasty communicates again, should Disciple feign civility with them or cut off all contact completely? Su Yunsheng asked. Zhu Yi shook his head unhurriedly. There is no need for either. After this ceremony, I will head to the Great Zhou dynasty. Su Yunsheng nodded his head. Disciple understands. Zhu Yi glanced at him and said slowly, since you have chosen the second path, you don't have to care about anything else. However, there is one thing that I have to ask you about. This is not only about you, but also involves others. Su Yunsheng had a vague guess. Zhu Yi's gaze seemed to be able to see through everything and see through his heart. Zhu Yi nodded his head calmly. That's right. The person I'm talking about is your youngest Uncle Master's disciple, Zhuge Wanqiu. Su Yunqing's gaze dimmed, and he lightly pursed his lips. Don't misunderstand. When I talk to you about this, I have no intention of making any decisions for you or giving you any pressure. Zhu Yi waved his hand, and his gaze was clear. I just want to know what you think in your heart. I will not interfere with any decision you make. However, there is one thing you need to be clear about. Once you make a decision, you have to be responsible for it. Being half-hearted and entangled will only harm others and yourself. He indeed had no intention of forcing Su Yunsheng to do anything. The entire Xianmen Tianzong wouldn't do that either. If Su Yunsheng had the intention of courting her, Zhu Yi would gladly agree and wouldn't stop him. As for whether Zhuge Wanqiu accepted Su Yunsheng or not, that was Zhuge Wanqiu's business. However, hesitation and indecisiveness would not bring them any benefits. Zhu Yi looked at him silently. You should know that Wanqiu is actually in love with you. Su Yunsheng was silent. The environment in which he grew up had made him mature and sensitive. He was especially sensitive to other people's perception of him. He had actually sensed Zhuge Wanqiu's feelings for him, but he had pretended not to know. In reality, he was also in love with that gentle girl. She gave him an unusually warm feeling, and it was especially easy to get along with her. However, it was precisely because of this that he didn't dare to show his feelings. His identity was awkward, and his future was uncertain. How could he dare to drag that girl into this pool of muddy water? Now that he had finally solved the problem of his identity, he would have to face 100 years of hard labor. Moreover, he would not be able to come into contact with any of his previous acquaintances for 100 years. If he couldn't form his gold core within 10 years, this hard labor might even be the end of his life. At this moment, Su Yunsheng had already calmed down. He sighed. Junior sister Zhuge has the talent of a celestial. She will definitely find a good match in the future. Even if I successfully form my gold core within 10 years, it will delay her for 100 years. Being separated for a long time, not being able to see each other, and not being able to communicate with each other is a great pain. Since that is the case, it is better to forget about each other in the pugilistic world. It is not that I don't believe in junior sister Zhuge's feelings, but it is precisely because of this that I can't bear for her to suffer. I know that making this kind of decision is actually very selfish. I should have asked for junior sister Zhuge's opinion on the matter between us, but please forgive me for being stubborn this time. Rather than waiting for 100 years, it is better to never start. Zhu Yi calmly said, I will not interfere with any decision you make, but you need to consider it carefully. If you go back on your words in the future and cause a bad impact, I may not just stand by and watch. When it comes to your own matters, you can make your own decisions. But when it involves others, you can't simply do as you wish. I've told you this principle since the first day you entered the sect. Su Yunxing took a deep breath and slowly said, I understand. I've already made up my mind, and I will not regret it in this life. Zhu Yi nodded his head. Since that is the case, go. After the spell gathering ends, follow me to the great Zhou dynasty. I will let you two reunite as soon as possible. Su Yunxing once again bowed down. Disciple thanks master, thank the sect. While Zhu Yi was talking to Su Yunsheng, the great Zhou crown Prince Liang Yuan on the other side was not idle either. He was not thinking about Su Yunxing's matter, but the Marquis of Xuanji, Zhu Hongwu, told him a terrible news. Looks like the situation will be more complicated than last time when the three mountains of Yingxi appear again. Liang Yuan lightly sighed. On the other side of the dermic power voice transmission, Zhu Hongwu's voice was as calm as usual. The great Zhou dynasty is determined to obtain the Yingxi's three mountains. After years of planning, it's time to end it. Controlling the Yingxi will be during the appearance of the three mountains. Chapter 698. Penglai, Yingzhou, and Fangzhong mountains have all fallen into the hands of the great Zhou dynasty. Yinghai will completely become the territory of the great Zhou dynasty. The thousands of treasures within will all be used by the great Zhou dynasty. Zhu Hongwu said, although it has been a long time, the great Zhou dynasty has the greatest exploration of Yinghai over the years. The great Zhou dynasty obtained the great emperor's orthodoxy and cracked the secrets of Yinghai. We have a unique advantage. Liang Yuan continued. That's right. Furthermore, the great Zhou dynasty has the geographical advantage. We have been operating the Eastern Ocean for many years and are much better than others. However, the battle over Yinghai will definitely cause a commotion. The great emperor gave up halfway in his exploration of Yinghai because the demon race received news and started a war between the two worlds in advance, forcing the great emperor to return from Yinghai. Not only did he not gain complete control of the three mountains, but he was also injured. Liang Yuan frowned as a hint of worry flashed across his eyes. Even though the great Thunder Temple has been destroyed, the celestial sect of Xianmen has unexpectedly risen. Even though the great Zhou dynasty has the initiative, we still need to plan carefully. Zhu Hongwu said calmly. The restoration of the Grand Imperial Palace has basically been completed. It is only a step away from its heyday. Apart from being no match for the Haotian mirror, it will not lose out even if it competes with other creation treasures. It is even better than an opportunistic treasure like the Taishu Temple. He moved his palm gently, and an extremely terrifying aura circulated around his body. Not long ago, I finally completed my cultivation. This time, I will follow His Majesty to Yinghai. Liang Yuan nodded. This is something that will determine the fate of the great Zhou dynasty. With Father and the Grand Tutor, there will be no worries. The great Zhou dynasty has been planning for many years on Yinghai. This time, we will definitely succeed in this battle. Zhu Hongwu's tone was calm. The fate of the great Zhou dynasty is in the sky. It is unstoppable like the torrent of history. We're just moving forward normally now. A look of surprise appeared on Liang Yuan's face. Grand Tutor, you seem to be implying something else? Zhu Hongwu said lightly, Xianmen Tianzong, the great Qin dynasty, the demon race, or the Taishu Temple, if they want to come to Yinghai to join in the fun this time, the great Zhou dynasty will welcome them. Yinghai is no longer the same as when the three mountains appeared last time. A look of shock appeared on Liang Yuan's face. Could it be, Your Highness Crown Prince, after this Kunlun Dharma assembly ends, return to Tianjing City to meet His Majesty. His Majesty will instruct you on many things. After Zhu Hongwu said this, he shut his mouth and cut off the Transcendence power transmission. Crown Prince Liang Yuan did not continue asking. Just the information that Zhu Hongwu had revealed today was enough for him to ponder for a long time. For Xianmen Tianzong and the great Zhou dynasty, they had already fought once through Su Yunsheng in the sky. For the people from other forces, They had watched an exciting battle between giants. Even though Su Yunsheng and Ing Rosa were both at the Foundation establishment stage, this battle could be said to be exciting. However, the exciting result was that although Ing Rosa won, he was heavily injured. Although Zhu Yi treated him, and his injuries were basically healed, the spiritual power that he had expended made it very difficult for him to be at his peak condition. Next, he could only helplessly lose against Dao Yuding, who was recuperating. The second battle of the top four immediately attracted the attention of the spectators. Xianmen Tianzong Zhou Yunsong versus Taishu Temple's Chun Xingyu. On one side, it was Xianmen Tianzong's direct disciple, who was previously unknown but had an amazing performance. On the other side, it was the remaining cultivator of the top four besides Xianmen Tianzong. The clash between Xianmen Tianzong and Taishu Temple's outstanding disciple made everyone look forward to it. Zhou Yunsong calmly arrived at the battle arena. At this time, all the cultivators in the spreading law hall no longer dared to look down on this cold and ruthless youth. He and Chun Xingyu stood opposite each other. One was as cold as winter, while the other was as pleasant as a spring breeze. The two of them were like two extremes of existence. In the quiet room of the Taishu Temple's disciples, someone asked Fan Xiefeng, senior apprentice brother Fan, "Does senior apprentice brother Chun have a way to restrain that Zhou Yunsong? His burning yang vitality, shattering divine art, is too vicious and overbearing. Senior apprentice brother Chun cultivates the void yin-yang Dao. Yin and yang coexist. Will his yang qi be burned away by him?" Fan Xiefeng smiled. Fellow Taoist, Zhou's divine art is close to innate talent. He has also used his advantage to the extreme. Although it is said to be terrifying, there is a ruler's weakness. Everyone has seen the fearsomeness of his burning yang physique. It can sweep away almost everything. But they have forgotten that he is not invulnerable. Not to mention others, his own ancestor's little disciple almost joined our Taishu Temple's fellow Taoist, Luo Qingwu. He can't do anything to her. Everyone was enlightened and nodded. Zhou Yunsong's burning yang physique could almost perfectly restrain Ding Ruinfeng's pure yang physique or little Lin Tong's innate fire spirit physique. But against Luo Qingwu's pure yin physique, he could only stare at her. Without the overbearing power of burning yang vitality, shattering divine art, and burning yang Dao destruction, he could only rely on his own mana and divine art to fight against Luo Qingwu. At that time, it would depend on their respective cultivation. Fan Xiefeng smiled. Although junior apprentice brother Chun is young, he is the disciple that martial Uncle Lin has nurtured with all his heart. His attainment in the void yin-yang Dao at his age and among the cultivators in the golden elixir period, he can already be said to be at the peak. Before Fan Xiefeng's voice died away, Chun Xingyu smiled and cupped his hands at Zhou Yunsong. Then, two vigorous mana, one black and one white, started to revolve around his body. In the next moment, the white air flow suddenly disappeared. Instead, the black airflow became more vigorous and vast. A wave of extreme yin and extreme cold power spread out. The spectators immediately realized that Chun Xingyu had pushed his void yin-yang Dao to the extreme. Yin and yang coexisted, transforming all the yang qi mana into yin qi mana to fight against Zhou Yunsong. In the All Heavens Hall, Yu Hongyan, Li Yuanfang, and Luo Qingwu nodded at the same time. Li Yuanfang said seriously, "Just this move alone, his cultivation base is above West Tomb cities by Shiqian." On the main seat, Lin Feng had a leisurely expression. For a cultivator in the golden elixir period to cultivate your sex void yin-yang Dao, he must have cultivated it to the extreme. Lin Daohan shook his head slightly. There was not a trace of arrogance on his face. Xingyu's situation is special. It is not worth mentioning. Since Yang Likuan was crippled by Zhou Yunsong, Shun Qifeng, the reincarnation sex heavenly Dao, primordial soul cultivator who had been silent all this time, suddenly smiled and said, "Just from the start of this battle, I can foresee that this battle will be the most exciting one in this assembly." How can we not have some steaks at this time? What do you think, celestial sect? Lin Feng's expression did not change, calmly smiling, saying, "Oh, Tao Venerable Tian Tan, I wonder what you would like to bet on?" Shen Qifeng smiled slightly. "Let's simply bet on the outcome of the battle. Of course, I won't snatch your sect's disciple to bet on, so I'll bet on Taishu Temple's disciple to win." He flipped his palm, and in a flash, a small world simulated by Dharma power appeared in his palm. The environment of the small world was very simple, and there was only one plant in it. Although it was a plant, it was completely white and fluttering in the air, as if it was formed by condensed clouds and mist. It was coiled into the shape of a vine, and it did not attach itself to any other plants. Instead, it just spiraled up into the sky. It was as if the tree trunk that it attached itself to was the air, the space, and the world. Seeing this vine, Yilong Bing, the reincarnation sect's primordial soul cultivator, changed his expression slightly. "Feather spirit vine," Shen Qifeng smiled and said, "Speaking of which, it is the feather spirit vine that I obtained from the human Tao. It would be a pity to destroy such a spiritual item, so I kept one for myself." Yilong Bing's face was as calm as still water. Among the 6 Tao sects of the reincarnation sect, the human Tao sect was the sect that was best at cultivating medicinal herbs and refining elixirs. A few years ago, when the internal conflict of the reincarnation sect was at its peak, the human Tao sect's herb valley was attacked during one of the conflicts. Most of the medicinal herbs were destroyed, and only one feather spirit vine remained. Until now, it had not reproduced, and there was only one feather spirit vine left. However, no one expected that Shen Qifeng would take one away. Lin Feng looked at the feather spirit vine in Shen Qifeng's hand silently and did not speak immediately. The feather spirit vine was undoubtedly very important to him and Xianmen Tianzong. It was one of the main ingredients for refining the 33 days fortune elixir, but it was extremely rare. Over the years, besides cultivating and developing the sect and educating the disciples, Lin Feng had also set out to search for the ingredients needed to refine the 33 days fortune elixir. Up until now, there were only 3 ingredients that he had not obtained, and the feather spirit vine was one of them. Back in the West Hill City, he had proposed to Yilong Bing to trade the feather spirit vine, but Yilong Bing had chosen to decline because he only had one feather spirit vine. Lin Feng looked at Shen Qifeng calmly, and the corner of his mouth gradually curled into a smile. "Unintentionally, or intentionally, since you're interested, I will naturally not be a wet blanket." As Lin Feng spoke, he flicked his finger slightly, and a light and shadow illusion appeared, projecting a scene in Xianmen Tianzong's medicinal valley. It was a dark green vine, and it was the heaven-mending vine. Lin Feng smiled and said, "I will use this heaven-mending vine to bet against your feather spirit vine." Shen Qifeng nodded. "Master of the celestial sect of wonders is very courageous. Then I will shamelessly gamble." The 33 days fortune elixir was a secret that belonged solely to Lin Feng. Other than Lin Feng, no one knew the recipe for the 33 days fortune elixir. Without considering the 33 days fortune elixir, the heaven-mending vine's value and rarity were above the feather spirit vine. The solar glory, Sword Venerable smiled and said, "In that case, we will all be witnesses." Everyone nodded one after another, and their gazes turned towards the spreading Law Hall's battlefield. There, the battle between Zhou Yunsong and Chun Xingyu had officially begun. The magic power around Chun Xingyu's body turned into black yin qi, without a trace of yang qi. It surrounded Chun Xingyu's body and fought against Zhou Yunsong. Zhou Yunsong was not afraid at all. The golden true fire of the sun burned all over his body, turning into black smoke-like burning yang qi, dark and ferocious. Zhou Yunsong waved his palm, and the burning yang qi was like a sharp blade, cutting off Chun Xingyu's yin qi. Even if he did not use the burning yang Dao destruction power of the burning yang qi, just the terrifying attack power of the burning yang qi, Zhou Yunsong's battle power far surpassed his peers. The terrifying power of the burning yang qi allowed Zhou Yunsong to not be at a disadvantage even when facing cultivators of the golden elixir period. Chun Xingyu's expression did not change. Although his cultivation was suppressed from the golden elixir period to the late stage of foundation establishment like Zhou Yunsong, his magic power was stronger than Yang Likuan, who was in the same situation. As his right hand changed, the black yin qi turned into balls of light, surrounding him and Zhou Yunsong. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.